Chapter 124. The virtual world was located at the center of the training ground. This was the most lively place in the training ground. There was food, drink, entertainment, and everything else. After all, martial artists were also human. They needed to eat and rest. Even the geniuses and elites were no exception. The light screen stairway was a huge light screen. It was 100 meters tall and was in the shape of a ladder. Hence, it was called the light screen stairway. On the light screen stairway, the rankings of the 111 students were listed from top to bottom. 1. Fong Ning, 32-2. Dugu Feng, 8-3. Deluan Air, 6. Oh, look, the newcomer Lin Feng's ranking has moved. Following the soft shout, many of the students who were resting and eating immediately looked over. As expected, Lin Feng, who was originally ranked 111th, moved up by 3 places. 108th place. Don't make a fuss. Every newcomer's ranking will increase on the first day. That's right. Didn't the little beauty Zhao Ro, who came yesterday, also rise to 95th place? After the first day's test, a student's general strength would be revealed. After that, they would have to rely on the training ground to slowly improve. At this moment, in a corner, Lin Feng, gritting his teeth, Huan Yao's eyes flashed with a terrifying cold light. Pada! The glass on the table suddenly shattered. Come, let's bet. A loud voice suddenly shouted. It was a young man who was as sturdy as steel. His skin was dark, and his muscles looked like they were about to explode. Just looking at him from afar was enough to make one's heart tremble. Without a doubt, this young man had extremely terrifying strength. 10th place, He Xiong. Same old rules, and at midnight. He Xiong shouted. Lin Feng enters the top 100, 1-1. Top 90, 1-2. Top 80, 1-4. Haha, let's bet. I bet 30 million. Top 100. Damn, I lost yesterday. I don't believe it. 80 million, top 90. In the training ground, gambling was extremely popular. The lowest bet was 10 million, and there was no upper limit. Here, every student was a giant among men. No money? That was for ordinary martial artists. For example, Lin Feng had earned 300 million Tianwu coins in less than 3 days. How terrifying was his earning speed? At this moment, a man and a woman were strolling over. The man was handsome, and the woman was beautiful. They were like a pair of celestial lovers. Everyone looked over, and all of them had a look of surprise and envy. In an instant, the noise and clamor that had been there suddenly stopped for a moment. Another bet? I like it. Aluwaner smiled sweetly, a natural charm. Xiao Jian smiled faintly and did not comment. I bet 300 million. Top 100, Luwaner said. There was an uproar. Indeed, a bet of 300 million was a big deal. However, Black Bear didn't seem to care. It was obvious that he was rich and overbearing. If you want to bet, then hurry up. If you don't want to bet, then please get out of my way. The Black Bear glared at the small sword and growled. His hostility seemed to be very strong. Do you want to bet a little? Warner looked at the little sword. All right. Xiao Jian shrugged and looked at Black Bear. He smiled faintly. Then let's do whatever. 1 billion, top 80. With a series of gasps, Black Bear's expression changed drastically, and his cold eyes flickered. I accept, Black Bear said coldly. 33 levels of heaven. 4th level of heaven. Begin. A familiar voice sounded in his ears. Lin Feng was revived with full health again. Holding the ice soul, soaring dragon spear, Lin Feng looked around, his heart filled with endless anticipation. I wonder how difficult the 4th level of heaven will be. Lin Feng's eyes lit up. He wasn't afraid of danger, but he was afraid of not being in danger. The more dangerous the situation, the more it could force out his potential. Lin Feng was very clear about this. There is no death in the 33 levels of heaven. Lin Feng's lips curled up. At most, the mission will fail. I'll come again next time. Although there was less danger, at the same time, there was more insurance and a layer of protection. It was hard to tell which was better and which was worse. At this moment, there was a cold light all around, and the terrifying sound of wind breaking formed a sharp explosion, causing Lin Feng's eardrums to vibrate. The dark brown light figures seemed to cover the entire sky. Frightening screeches were accompanied by many crazy figures as they sped over, causing Lin Feng's heart to tremble. My God, it's really... Lin Feng was speechless. 100 man-eating mad raccoons. The fourth level of heaven was 10 times, no, 100 times more terrifying than the third level of heaven. The man-eating mad raccoons were petite, different from the blade-hell golden skin pigs. At the same time, Lin Feng might only have to face 2 or 3 blade-hell golden skin pigs, but 7 or 8 man-eating mad raccoons could attack at the same time. Moreover, compared to the blade-hell golden skin pigs, the man-eating mad raccoons were faster and more agile. Their attacks were more vicious and fierce. It was an impossible mission, and this was only the fourth level of heaven. Do you think I'm afraid of you? Facing this hopeless situation, Lin Feng's eyes were filled with fighting spirit, and the ice soul soaring dragon spear in his hand shook. Whoosh! A shrill piercing sound rang out. Lin Feng dodged to the side, but before his feet touched the ground, 2 cold lights appeared in front of him. Lin Feng quickly retreated, and at this moment, the attacks from behind also arrived, surrounding him tightly. The small range of dodging made Lin Feng feel like a bird in a cage. It was impossible to escape. Chi! 5 cold lights appeared in an instant. No matter if it was the density or frequency of the attacks, it was far beyond the third level of heaven. It was even beyond Lin Feng's limits. It was almost impossible for him to turn his body, but facing 100 man-eating mad raccoons without attacking, just dodging wouldn't solve any problems. It could be done once, but not twice. Behind him, 3 cold lights suddenly appeared, like lightning breaking through the sky. There was no way to dodge. Oh no! Lin Feng's expression changed drastically. Suddenly, pung, there was a light sound in his mind. The familiar feeling returned, and it was as if a map had been opened in his mind. A total of 100 man-devouring mad raccoons covered the entire map like stars. Soul power gushed out in an instant, and Lin Feng's eyes suddenly became bright. I almost forgot, I still have soul power. In the 33 levels of heaven, what was replicated was the entire body. A person's body was made up of both soul and spirit. It was like adding wings to a tiger. Lin Feng, who was originally at a disadvantage, suddenly had the power to counterattack. Soul power not only could be used for defense, it could also be used for attack. Cold lights shot out in all directions. The icy soul, soaring dragon spear was like a sleeping tiger that had awakened. Lin Feng held the soaring dragon spear, and with the help of his soul power, it was like a divine weapon descending. Cold lights shot out and directly fell into the group of man-eating mad raccoons. His eyes were filled with endless battle intent, and he crazily killed. Man-eating mad raccoons, crazy. Lin Feng, even crazier. But soul power was limited, and physical strength was even more limited. After killing 66 man-eating mad raccoons in a row, Lin Feng's physical strength was exhausted. His soul power had also become weak. Although his soul power had increased greatly, Lin Feng had to face not 1 or 2 man-eating mad raccoons, but more often than not, he had to use his soul power on close to 10 man-eating mad raccoons at the same time. Wah! A white light flashed in front of him. Lin Feng only felt that the sky and earth were spinning, and his body seemed to have lost its balance and sense of position. In a split-second pop, he opened his eyes. Returning to reality again, Lin Feng felt as if he had awoken from a dream. The elemental fire in his hand burned hot. Lin Feng's eyes lit up. What he experienced just now was like a dream, but it was incomparably real. Until now, every part of his body still had the feeling of battle. This 33 levels of heaven is really magical. Lin Feng thought to himself. At this moment, 4th level of heaven, failure. A familiar voice sounded in his ears. Wah! The originally tightly shut bronze door slowly opened. Phew! Exhaling deeply, Lin Feng immediately stepped out of the door. In a virtual world, the light screen's stairway to heaven. Lin Feng, 102nd place. Damn it. Damn it. Why is the quality of each newcomer worse than the last? That's right. Yesterday, that little beauty was able to climb to 95th place. Today, this kid can't even surpass the 100th place. Everyone was in an uproar, scolding and cursing. Yesterday, Zhao Xiaoro was still okay. At least she entered the top 100, so naturally there were people who were happy and people who were worried. But today, Lin Feng's 102nd place made everyone completely wiped out. The happiest person at this moment was none other than Black Bear. His bell-like eyes narrowed into a line, grinning from ear to ear. He had earned a lot. There were only 2 hours left in the hour. Oh, not bad. Little Sword's eyes were bright, and he nodded. This is not bad. The Luan heir curled her lips. Money was a small matter, but losing a bet made her unhappy. At this moment, Black Bear slowly strode over, his face full of pride. Yo, 5th place, 1 billion Tianwu coins. Are you ready? Don't worry, there's still 2 hours. Little Sword smiled indifferently, slowly stood up, and walked out. Where are you going, Little Sword? The Luan heir shouted. To cultivate. A voice came faintly. Room 111. My current points are... Lin Feng opened his time integrator and started to check. Got it, 207. 92. Lin Feng nodded in realization, calculating in his heart. My points just now were 45. 2. In other words, my points in the 33rd heaven is 46. Smiling slightly, Lin Feng was quite satisfied. After all, it was his first time entering the 33rd heaven. According to Zhao Xiaoro, most of the students at the level of Emperor Wu were stuck in the 4th heaven. This kind of result was already not bad. The key is to conserve your stamina and soul power. Lin Feng recalled that battle. In his heart, he knew very well where his mistake was. Because of the existence of the primordial fire in my body, I have never really cared about stamina. Lin Feng lightly shook his head. It was like having an endless supply of money. Why would he care about how much he spent? It was a very simple logic. In any case, I can enter the 33 layered heavens every day. I'll slowly adapt and change. Lin Feng clenched his fist. Everything should not be done in haste and should be done in one go. Right? I don't think I've been to the tempering pool yet. Lin Feng suddenly remembered and muttered, I heard from Xiao Rou that the tempering pool is a good place. You can only enter once every 5 days. The earlier you enter, the better. I should go and take a look. With a soft chuckle, Lin Feng stood up and left. Chapter 125. Dragon Spine Road, 33 Levels of Heaven, and Tempering Pool. These were the 3 most important parts of the training ground. This is the tempering pool. Lin Feng's eyes lit up. In front of him was a huge space. There were 3 rows and 10 rows, and 30 huge metal containers were placed in parallel. The silver containers shone brightly, and the ancient patterns formed the mark of a soaring dragon. These metal containers looked very mysterious. These 30 metal containers were the tempering pool. Welcome to the tempering pool. A white-haired elder with a kind face extended his hand with a smile. Hello, senior. Lin Feng nodded and took out the key with the number 111 on it. He had heard about the general rules from Xiao Rou. Every time he entered the tempering pool, he had to register and confirm his identity in time. 5 days, 1 chance. As for the white-haired elder, Lin Feng only knew that his name was Elder Sun, and that he was in charge of the tempering pool. He did not know anything else. However, to be able to join the hunt, he was obviously not an ordinary person. Okay. Elder Sun took the key and glanced at Lin Feng. You know the rules, right? I know a little. Lin Feng answered honestly. He had heard from Xiao Rou that the tempering pool was very similar to the 33 levels of heaven. The 3 levels of Emperor Wu were clearly separated. In the tempering pool, the beginner Emperor Wu could only enter the first row of the 10 tempering pools. Elder Sun put his hands behind his back and nodded. He looked at Lin Feng calmly. Suddenly, Lin Feng felt a chill down his spine. He had goosebumps all over his body. He felt as if he had been seen through. So powerful. Lin Feng was shocked. He had guessed that Elder Sun was not ordinary, but he did not expect him to be so powerful. At the very least, He was a titled martial god. Number 5 tempering pool. Elder Sun smiled and nodded. Yes, senior, Lin Feng said respectfully. Every student who entered the tempering pool for the first time would be handpicked by Elder Sun to enter one of the pools. Every quenching pool had a different strength and effect. They were divided into numbers 1 to 10. The higher the number, the stronger the quenching pool, and the higher the effect. I didn't expect to enter number 5 on my first try. Lin Feng was very satisfied. According to Xiao Rou, most of the beginner-level Emperor Wu's first time entering would either be on the second or the third. It should be because my body is stronger. Lin Feng understood. His body's toughness had reached 369 titanium, which was already the average standard of an intermediate Emperor Wu. However, the higher the number, the stronger the tempering pool, the more dangerous it was. Phew. Standing in front of the number 5 quenching pool, Lin Feng closed his eyes and took a deep breath. Tempering was not simple. Suddenly, Lin Feng jumped into the quenching pool, only to feel a bone-chilling coldness. It was as if he had entered a boundless pool, and an enormous suction force instantly sucked him into the bottom of the pool. Sizzle, sizzle. His body seemed to have been electrocuted, emitting a slight resonant sound, as if something terrifying was about to descend. Is it coming? Lin Feng clenched his fists and closed his eyes. Suddenly, lightning flashed everywhere. As if lightning had struck, the water in the quenching pool seemed to have turned into electric eels, crazily emitting electricity. Lin Feng felt his body go numb, as if thousands of arrows had pierced through his heart. In the blink of an eye, he was torn to pieces. The intense pain attacked his heart, and his eyes were wide open. It was far more terrifying than he had imagined. But endure. He could only grit his teeth and persevere. The longer I persevere, the greater the effect of the body tempering, and the greater the improvement. Lin Feng's eyes were bloodshot, and he was incomparably persistent. He had suffered all kinds of hardships. Illusory world, light screen stairway to heaven. There's still 15 minutes before it ends. Black Bear gulped down wine and meat, admiring the battle in the illusory world while waiting slowly. When it was midnight, he would be able to earn a huge sum of money. With Little Sword's 1 billion, I can earn 2 billion Tianwu coins this time. Awesome. Black Bear's eyes were filled with joy. Although he had a lot of money too. 2 billion Tianwu coins was still a rather large sum of money. At this moment, look, that Lin Feng's ranking has risen. A surprised voice sounded. No way. How was that possible? In an instant, the originally quiet light screen on the stairway to heaven was in an uproar. The students who were watching the battle in the illusory world immediately turned their gazes to the huge light screen, their expressions incomparably shocked. Lin Feng, who was originally ranked 102nd, had jumped to 100th place. Impossible. Black Bear stood up abruptly, his eyes filled with shock. The 33 levels of heaven only has one chance every day. The quenching pool can only be entered once every 5 days, and the Dragon Spine Road can only be entered once a month. Black Bear was stunned. He could not understand why Lin Feng's points had suddenly increased. It only took a split second. Whoosh! The light screen changed again. 99th place. Huh! The crowd was in an uproar. Many students could not help but whistle. The difference between 99th place and 100th place was too big. Damn it! Black Bear was slightly annoyed, but he could only let out a deep breath. For example, Zhao Xiaoro had also squeezed into the top 100 yesterday. There were many people who had bet on the top 90 and 80, so he still had some surplus. But how did Lin Feng's points suddenly increase? Black Bear was puzzled. 98, 97, 96, Lin Feng's ranking continued to rise, changing positions almost every 2 or 3 seconds. Black Bear's expression became more and more unsightly. When he saw Lin Feng's ranking rise to 91st place, he finally could not help but explode. Damn it! How did this brat increase his points? The students were all shocked and could not help but turn to look at the angry Black Bear. Stupid bear, I wonder if the new students can walk the dragon spine road one more time? Deluana walked over slowly and smiled. Her beautiful eyes beautiful. So it was like that. After hearing Deluana's words, many students suddenly understood. At this moment, Lin Feng's ranking rose by 2 places in a flash. 89th place. Ha! Ha ha! The students who had bet on the top 90 immediately burst into laughter, unable to contain their joy. Although they might not care about the tens of millions, this feeling was too great. His laughter reverberated in the entire illusory world, startling the 2 martial artists who had just stepped out of the illusory world. As for Black Bear, his eyes were red, and he was already beyond angry. No, I haven't lost yet. Black Bear clenched his teeth. This time, the bets were different from the usual bets. Half of the bets were on Lin Feng entering the top 80. Among them, Little Sword alone took up 1 billion. As long as he doesn't enter the top 80, I will lose at most 200 or 300 million. Black Bear kept calculating in his heart, and the result made him feel slightly relieved. But it was obviously not over yet. 88, 87, 86. Lin Feng's ranking was still steadily rising. At the tempering pool, Lin Feng's blood vessels exploded, and his body seemed to be torn apart. Blood vessels densely covered every inch of his skin. Lin Feng had already bitten his lips until it bled, and his veins were exposed. The extreme pain made him feel suffocated. This was definitely more painful than any torture. The inevitable result of taking a shortcut was suffering. The tempering of the martial god was not a simple matter. 60 seconds. I have to hold on for 60 seconds. Lin Feng shouted. The rule of the tempering pool was that if one could hold on for 60 seconds, they could go to a stronger tempering pool for the next tempering. For example, Lin Feng was currently in pool number 5, so he could go to pool number 6 for the next tempering. Pa! Pa! His skin kept exploding, but it was repaired in an instant. His meridians were broken, but they were quickly reconnected. The tempering pool was like a demon, torturing Lin Feng's body and will, just like Elder Sun, who was standing beside him calmly. What a stubborn little guy. Elder Sun shook his head with a smile. You are the 3rd student in this batch to be able to hold on for more than 60 seconds on the first tempering. Elder Sun clicked his tongue and praised. A martial artist's talent and strength are important, but their character is also a major factor that determines their future achievements. A stubborn martial artist with great perseverance, no matter how bad his talent is, will definitely achieve great things. In the tempering pool, physical strength was important, but willpower and perseverance were the most important. 82, 81, 80. Stop. The Black Bear roared. However, how could he control the scoreboard? Everyone's eyes were focused on the screen, watching the name that had created a miracle rise from the inconspicuous 102nd place to the 80th place in less than 2 minutes, like a sharp arrow piercing through the air. Everyone held their breaths. Wah! The light screen lit up. Everyone's eyes widened. 79th, Lin Feng. Shouts and cheers filled the air. All the students' emotions were ignited, and their faces were filled with excitement. On the other hand, the Black Bear's face was pale. He slumped weakly on the chair, as if his body had lost all its strength, and there was no light in his eyes. You lost. Little Sword's expression was still calm, as if he had already expected this. A bet of 1 billion, and the odds were 1 to 4. Just this bet alone had taken away a huge chunk of the Black Bear's flesh, ignoring the stunned Black Bear. Little Sword walked to Deluana's side. You're here. Deluana smiled. Yes. Little Sword looked at the light screen. Lin Feng's ranking was still climbing. How are you so sure? Deluana looked at Little Sword with her bright eyes. I've seen this newcomer once. Little Sword's voice was still calm. His eyes reminded me of someone. Oh, Fong Ning. Standing in front of the number 5 tempering pool, Elder Sun's eyes shone brightly. Elder Sun could clearly see the face in the tempering pool, which shocked him as he stared at the bright silver color with his penetrating vision. The crystal blue pool water enveloped Lin Feng, as if a mother was holding a child and healing his injuries. Lin Feng's body was curled up, and his skin shone with a crystalline light. He seemed to be in a deep sleep, but his hands were still tightly clenched. 90 seconds. He actually lasted for 90 seconds, 2 seconds longer than him. Elder Sun shook his head and sighed. In terms of willpower, he might not be as good as Fong Ning. That kid lasted for 88 seconds, but Elder Sun smiled helplessly. This persistence is too scary. His consciousness is already unconscious, but his body is still deeply imprinted with that unyielding persistence, and he managed to drag the tempering time by 3 seconds. I can't believe that I can still see such a genius rising star when I'm so close to death. And there are 2 of them. Third update, finally posted at 1800 hours sharp. You have me, you. Roar, requesting recommendation votes, requesting subscriptions. Xiao Xiao will report back to everyone with a stable update, .. If you like this work, you're welcome to come to Chidian. Come to vote for me. Your support is my biggest motivation. Chapter 126. In the illusory world, the light screen stairway. As the dust of the bet settled, Black Bear's painful defeat should have come to an end. But, however, Lin Feng's ranking was still climbing up slowly like a snail, causing everyone to stare blankly and hold their breaths. From 79 to 69, and then slowly rising from 69, everyone's mouths were wide open in shock. 67, 66, 63, 61. Finally, Lin Feng's ranking stopped. It stopped at 60, completely fixed. 60th place, Lin Feng. There was a series of gasps. The expressions of the students were all stiff, and their mouths did not close for a long time. It was a short 90 seconds, but it felt as long as 90 days. There was silence. It seems that I still underestimated him. Little Sword smiled and said to himself, so, not only is he the 3rd martial god Refinement, but he is also comparable to that monster Fong Ning. With this thought, Little Sword slowly got up, looked at the light screen stairway, and exhaled a long breath. Clap, clap. A clear clap sounded and immediately broke the silent environment. Looking around, Little Sword's mouth drew an indifferent line. A very impressive newcomer. Remember this name. He is Lin Feng. After saying this, he smiled and turned to leave. Wait for me. The Luwaner followed. Leaving behind a group of dumbfounded students, they looked at each other, not knowing what was going on. But no matter what, at this moment, everyone remembered this newcomer that Little Sword called very impressive, Lin Feng. After an unknown period of time, his eyes suddenly opened, and Lin Feng jumped up. Thud! Stepping on the ground, Lin Feng felt his body become lighter and more at ease. He looked at his hands in surprise, his eyes shining. What a comfortable feeling, Lin Feng murmured. This feeling was like completely removing the excess parts of the body, removing the dregs, and extracting the essence. Completely new. His body seemed to have shed a layer of skin. How do you feel? A voice rang out. Lin Feng was startled. He quickly turned around and saw that Elder Sun was standing behind him. He was looking at him with a smile on his face. His smile seemed to be a little sneaky. Very good. Lin Feng nodded. To be honest, these 3 words indeed contained everything. This is the true tempering. Elder Sun looked at Lin Feng and said slowly, the human body is like a container filled with stones. It may seem full, but it's not. You can continue to add sand to fill the container. But if you think it's full, it's not because you can continue to add water. Just like this, step by step, the human body has no limits. As Lin Feng listened, he suddenly felt a sense of mystery and fell into deep thought. Okay, you can go back. Old Sun handed the key back to Lin Feng. Come back in 3 days. Lin Feng was startled. 3 days? Isn't it 5 days? Lin Feng asked inexplicably. You think that the true tempering can be enjoyed by just anyone? Elder Sun rolled his eyes at Lin Feng. Those mediocre people can enjoy the strengthening of their bodies once every 5 days. Go back. Remember, don't say anything you shouldn't say. Lin Feng's eyes lit up and he nodded. It seemed that he had been given special treatment? Thank you, Senior. Lin Feng smiled. How could he talk about this kind of thing? Heaven knows, Earth knows, and he knows. Back in his room, Lin Feng opened the time integrator. Looking at his ranking, he was shocked. God, 60th? Lin Feng was shocked. Although his goal was indeed the top 60, Lin Feng never thought that he could achieve it on the first day. It was too unexpected. After all, in the training base, who was weak? Every student was an official member of the hunt. They were carefully selected, the elite of the elite. I must have gotten a lot of points from the tempering pool. Lin Feng nodded. Filled with curiosity, he continued to browse down the page. At the end of the line, his total points were clearly visible. 546, 92 points. Before the tempering pool, my points were 207. 92. In other words, the points I got in the tempering pool were 5 points. Lin Feng thought for a moment and calculated. I entered the number 5 quenching pool, and 60 seconds is the base number. That is to say, I stayed in the quenching pool for 90 seconds? The points in the tempering pool were equal to the original points multiplied by the base number. Lin Feng's original points multiplied by the base number of 1. 5 was 7. 5 points. I didn't expect that not only did I exceed 60 seconds, but I exceeded it by so much. Lin Feng was surprised. He still had some recollection of exceeding 60 seconds. However, after that, his memory was already blurred. He was holding on purely by his willpower. Next time, I will be able to enter tempering pool number 6. Lin Feng smiled. It will only be 3 days. An absolute advantage. Compared to other people's 5 days, not only did he save almost half the time, he also had special treatment, the real tempering. According to Old Sun, the other martial artists only had their bodies strengthened. Tempering. Feeling the changes in his body, Lin Feng understood what was going on with Elder Sun's explanation. It was like a piece of paper full of words. After the blank part was torn away, the remaining paper was still full of words, but was denser and more compact. My control of strength is purer and smoother. Lin Feng clenched his fist and hit his chest. A deep light shone between his eyebrows. My body is more solid and sturdy. If cultivation is to increase the vitality of the cells, then tempering is to condense the body and achieve perfection. So this is tempering. Lin Feng smiled. At this moment, he finally understood the origin of the martial god tempering plan. I have already entered the top 60. It seems that my goal of entering the top 30 can be brought forward. Lin Feng was full of confidence. There's still 10 days. The other students should have used up most of their time points. As for me, I still have 50 time points left. Indeed, no one will be so bored as to hide their time points. Naturally, they would improve their strength as much as possible. Let's give it a try. If I can enter the top 30 before the end of the month, I will have 100 time points next month. Lin Feng muttered to himself. However, the privilege of tempering once every 3 days undoubtedly gave him a strong advantage and the capital to surpass others. Fair? What's the use of this thing in the cultivation room? In addition to allowing students to cultivate, there were also devices to test their physical fitness. Speed, 2,880 meters per second. Strength, 4785 June, equivalent to 143,550 gene. Physical strength, 601 titanium. The first 2 tests were still okay. However, when the physical strength test came out, Lin Feng was dumbfounded. His physical strength, which was originally 369 titanium, had increased by 63%. Speed was originally 2,390 meters per second, but it increased by about 20%. Strength was originally 3988 June, but it also increased by about 20%. Lin Feng's eyes revealed a look of contemplation. It should be the effect of tempering. Just like Dragon Spine Road, the first increase is more. Going through Dragon Spine Road increases the physical strength. According to Xiao Rou, the first increase is at most between 20% to 50%. Including the subsequent tempering, the total increase is 63%. It's within a reasonable range. Just like exploring a wasteland, the profits from the first exploration were bound to be especially rich. Today is already the 20th of January. There are only 10 days left until the end of the month. Lin Feng muttered to himself. There's still 3 more tempering opportunities and 1 more Dragon Spine Road. With my current physical fitness, it's very likely that I will reach the intermediate Emperor Wu standard before the end of the month. When that time comes, that's troublesome. Lin Feng shook his head. The intermediate Emperor Wu's point coefficient was 2, while the elementary Emperor Wu's point coefficient was 4. In other words, if he reached the intermediate Emperor Wu standard before the end of the month, his points would be halved. His ranking would undoubtedly plummet. I have to keep it, Lin Feng muttered to himself. I'll keep the 50 light points for now. I'll think about it at the end of the month. Others couldn't wait to increase their strength, but he had to hold it in. So difficult. Lin Feng smiled bitterly. Spear training. Soul power training. Lin Feng's goal was very clear. The Fire Spirit Masterclass was to give up. Soul power was different. To become a titled martial god, soul power was an indispensable part. In battle, soul power also had an incomparable auxiliary property. In the 4th layer heaven, if he didn't have the assistance of soul power, he would have lost long ago. Furthermore, the stronger the soul power, the longer the number of nodes on the Dragon's Spine Road. Lin Feng nodded. In an instant, the mystery of souls appeared in front of him. This mysterious book that his father gave him seemed ordinary, but it was full of mysteries and functions. Without it, his soul power wouldn't have increased so quickly. Without it, every time he encountered danger, a clear map would not appear in his mind. Without it, he wouldn't have been able to cultivate in the illusion of darkness. It had too many functions. It seemed unremarkable, but in fact, it was irreplaceable. Gently flipping open the cover, Lin Feng's eyes flashed. Soul power suddenly burst out. Most importantly, reading it didn't take much time, because his soul power would be exhausted in an instant. A night of cultivation ended. Lin Feng wiped the sweat on his forehead. After more than 6 hours of cultivation, he didn't feel tired at all. My body is still the best. Lin Feng smiled. He didn't know how precious stamina was, but now he finally understood. Only after losing it would he know how to cherish it. There's still 15 minutes until 7 o'clock. It's about time. Lin Feng immediately stood up and sheathed the Ice Soul Soaring Dragon Spear. Every day, he could go to the Spear Dojo to seek guidance from Teacher Frost. How could he give up such a good benefit? Unless it was a true master-disciple relationship, how many titled martial gods would condescend to teach him? Movement techniques mostly depended on one's own comprehension, but spear techniques, whether someone taught him or not, the difference was huge. Walking according to the route in his memory yesterday, Lin Feng quickly arrived at the Spear Dojo. This was a large dojo surrounded by thick metal walls. Basically, the area of the dojo was about 100 times the size of the training room. It occupied a large area. Pushing open the thick door, Lin Feng immediately entered. Before seeing the person, he could see the shadow of the spear, and the sound of it breaking through the air was incomparably shrill. What a fast spear! Lin Feng praised. Looking up, he was stunned and suddenly froze on the spot. No way. It's him? Leaving a suspense, roar, please subscribe, please recommend. This is a small update. Everyone, give some effort, haha. Change the front page of the fan ranking to Disciple. If you like this work, you are welcome to come to Chidian. Come to vote for me. Your support is my greatest motivation. Chapter 127. It was a face that was both unfamiliar and familiar. They had only met once. But this face was more profound than any other impression. It was deeply imprinted in his mind. Even now, when practicing his spear, Lin Feng would still think of this face, this figure, and the spear in his hand. His former idol. That day he assassinated the Blue Eyes Violent Bear with a single spear. That day he used the spear that changed him deeply, flash of flowing light. That day he told him what a real martial artist was. For a moment, Lin Feng was stunned. He never thought that he would meet the former him here at this time. "You're here." A cold voice sounded. Lin Feng instantly came back to his senses. Seeing Teacher Frost looking at him with sparkling eyes, he nodded. "Yes, teacher." Clap, clap. The sound of hands clapping sounded. Frost looked at the other students and shouted, "Everyone come here. Let me introduce you." Lin Feng looked over and saw 3 students. 2 guys and a girl immediately surrounded him. Other than that, there was a 2-meter-tall man and a young girl. There were not many students in the Spear Dojo. "This is the new student who joined yesterday, Lin Feng." Frost revealed a faint smile. "I presume you all know him?" "Yes." The man nodded. "How can we not know him?" The young girl blinked. "Junior Lin Feng became famous overnight yesterday." Saying this, the 3 of them could not help but look at each other and laugh. Became famous overnight? Lin Feng was stunned. It should be because of the sudden rise in the ranking. Lin Feng immediately understood. As a new student, he entered the top 60 in a short day. Naturally, he attracted attention. "Hello, I'm Han Tai." The 2-meter-tall man gave a simple and honest smile and stretched out his big, leaf-like hand. "If you don't mind, call me Brother Tai." "Hello, Brother Tai." Lin Feng smiled and stretched out his hand. Han Tai gave him a very warm and friendly feeling, just like Brother Nyo in the Rocket Squad. However, it was clear that the strength of the two was completely different. "You can just call me Senior Sister," the young girl smiled. Lin Feng was stunned. "Her name is Lala. She's very naughty." The young man's familiar face had a carefree smile as he stretched out his hand. "Nice to meet you. My name is Wang Chong." Wang Chong's smile and tone gave off an amiable and approachable feeling. Lin Feng raised his head, a complicated look in his eyes. Scenes of the past flashed through his mind, fragments of memories appearing in his mind. At this moment, the past seemed to have been extinguished like a wick, vanishing into thin air. "Hello, Senior Brother Wang." Lin Feng shook his hand and smiled. "Actually, this is the second time we've met." As soon as he finished speaking, everyone was shocked and looked at each other. "Really?" Wang Chong was surprised. "Why don't I have any recollection of this?" Half a year ago, at the Lin village, Lin Feng chuckled as he began to recount the story, leaving everyone dumbfounded. Very quickly, Lin Feng finished his narration and nodded. "Senior Brother Wang Chong has always been the martial artist and goal that I respect the most." Bing Shuang stared at Lin Feng with a gleam in her eyes. Her heart was filled with shock. In just half a year, he had risen from a preparatory martial artist to a primary Emperor Wu. This speed, it was terrifying to the extreme. "I'm embarrassed by your words." Wang Chong's face reddened. Indeed, this was the first time he was praised like this. But Junior Brother Lin Feng, yesterday, Lala revealed a carefree smile and covered her mouth. "You crushed your most respected goal under your buttocks?" Lin Feng was confused. Junior Brother Wang was originally ranked 60th on the scoreboard. Han Tai smiled foolishly. In an instant, Lin Feng understood the situation. So, when he was ranked 60th, he pushed Senior Brother Wang down to 61st. Wang Chong's face couldn't help but turn even redder. He had just been called an idol, but now he was slapped in the face. Naturally, he felt extremely awkward. Lin Feng didn't expect such a blunder to occur. "It's nothing." Looking at Lin Feng's apologetic expression, Wang Chong knew what was going on. He patted Lin Feng's shoulder and smiled. "Seeing Junior Brother's achievements, I can't help but feel happy that I unknowingly became your teacher. As a man, how can I be so petty?" "Well said." Han Tai nodded his head in agreement. "The scoreboard exists to encourage competition. In the past, you were the one who chased after me. Now, it's my turn to chase after you, Junior Brother." Wang Chong winked at Lin Feng and smiled. "Remember, you mustn't slack off." "I know, Senior." Lin Feng nodded his head with a smile. The feeling they gave him was as though they were a family, harmonious and harmonious. Especially Wang Chong. He was like a big brother to them. There were only 3 of them. Including Lin Feng, there were only 4 of them. Soon, everyone became familiar with one another. The weakest of the 3 was Lala, ranked 88th. Following her was Wang Chong, ranked 61st. The strongest was Han Tai. Indeed, one couldn't judge a book by its cover. Although he looked simple and honest, Han Tai was ranked 36th. The strongest in our spear dojo is Sister Xiling, ranked 11th. Lala's eyes were filled with respect. Sister Xiling. Lin Feng muttered, remembering this name. Although there aren't many students in the spear dojo, everyone is very united. Han Tai smiled foolishly. The training base is also split into factions. Among them, the Sword Dojo and Saber Dojo have the most students, taking up around half of the total. Fortunately, the spear isn't considered unpopular among the 18 types of weapons. Weapons like crutch and shooting star are not used by titled martial gods in the hunt. Lin Feng immediately understood. In truth, in the Qianwu continent, most of the martial artists use sabers and swords. This was especially so for the saber. It was the only ultimate weapon manual in the entire continent, heaven-crushing. With senior sister Xiling around, there are very few people who dare to provoke our spear dojo. Wang Chong smiled. Senior sister Xiling might be cold, but she is extremely protective. Furthermore, among the 12 high-ranked Emperor Wu, her strength is ranked at the top. The scoreboard represented one's potential, not one's strength. Provoke? Lin Feng was surprised. Isn't fighting prohibited in the training base? Where there are people, there will naturally be conflicts. This is something that cannot be avoided. Wang Chong shrugged. There will always be people who find me an eyesore. Furthermore, those in the training base are all geniuses among geniuses. Which one of them isn't arrogant? Lin Feng nodded. Indeed, as soon as he arrived, he seemed to have formed a grudge with Huan Yao. Usually, at this time, they would settle it in the illusory dimension. Wang Chong looked at Lin Feng's doubtful eyes and smiled. Junior hasn't been there before, right? Lin Feng nodded. Even though Teacher Frost had brought him there before, they didn't enter the illusory dimension. The illusory dimension is similar to the Trayastrimsa heaven. It can perfectly replicate a martial artist's body. Wang Chong nodded. Then, the martial artist who enters the illusory dimension can engage in battle. This is extremely popular in the training base. Usually, there will be some bets to increase the fun. I see. Lin Feng came to a realization. It was just like the battle with the demonic beasts in the Trayastrimsa heaven. However, the demonic beasts were replaced by martial artists. At this moment, clapping sounds could be heard. Lin Feng and the others immediately stopped their conversation and looked over. It's time. Let's stop the meaningless chit-chat. Teacher Frost's voice was cold. Han Tai, bring Wang Chong and Lala to practice. Yes, teacher, Han Tai replied. Soon, after the three of them left, only Lin Feng and Teacher Frost were left, facing each other. Lin Feng was slightly excited, and he was looking forward to it. Clearly, from the looks of it, he was going to give them some preferential treatment. Clang! A crisp sound could be heard. Lin Feng's eyes lit up. He saw Teacher Frost pull out a crystal, jade-like spear. It was white and transparent, and it emitted a cold aura. The name of the spear is Ice Jade. Teacher Frost's hand stroked the ice jade spear, and a gentle light flashed across her eyes. In an instant, clang, the ice jade spear vibrated lightly, and the trembling sound seemed to resound in Lin Feng's mind. Come, attack me. Teacher Frost said coldly. Attack. Lin Feng was taken aback for a moment, and then he understood. His eyes lit up, and he pulled out the ice soul soaring dragon spear. A faint battle intent could be felt. Teacher Frost's eyes flashed. Attack! Yes! Lin Feng took a step forward, and his right arm whistled in the wind. He twisted his shoulder, and the ice soul soaring dragon spear trembled, and then stabbed out like lightning. Flash of light. However, compared to usual, something seemed to be missing. Teacher Frost did not move, and her right hand gently swung. Clang! The moment the ice jade spear and the ice soul soaring dragon spear collided, Lin Feng felt a strange feeling of emptiness. Even his body seemed to not listen to his command, and his spear was in a mess. Bang! A huge force came from the ice soul soaring dragon spear, and Lin Feng held his breath and quickly retreated. So strong. Lin Feng was shocked. Teacher Frost still stood there indifferently, and her eyes flashed. She smiled coldly. You don't think you can hurt me, do you? Use your full strength. Teacher Frost suddenly shouted. Lin Feng's eyes lit up. Indeed, he was a little hesitant just now, but too stupid. Teacher Frost's strength? How could he be hurt by this three-legged cat's spear technique? Teacher Frost's appearance was as tall as a mountain, and Lin Feng was suddenly filled with fighting spirit. That long-awaited feeling once again filled his heart. The stronger the opponent, the stronger. The ice soul soaring dragon spear in his hand danced strangely, and Lin Feng's footsteps created a heart-shaking rhythm, like a venomous snake hunting for its prey. Suddenly, the spear danced like a scarlet snake, and the illusions intersected with each other. And in an instant, his right leg suddenly stepped forward. The eyes of Wang Chong and the others who were practicing by the side lit up. Scarlet Snake Yinwu? Perfect level movement technique. Looking for recommendations. Looking for subscriptions. There are too many updates. Everyone, please subscribe @_it to be continued. If you like this work, you are welcome to come to Chidian. Come to vote for me. Your support is my biggest motivation. Chapter 128. Heavenly Spear Art, 3rd level, 10th move. Scarlet Snake Flame Dance. Quadruple Strength. Perfect level movement technique. Definitely Lin Feng's strongest move. And at this moment, Bing Shuang moved. The Ice Jade Spear drew a cold arc. The spear's shadow carried a dazzling brilliance. In an instant, a white aura filled the entire space. Lin Feng felt his heart tremble. A huge white snake suddenly appeared in front of him, opening its bloody mouth, lifelike. It was extremely terrifying. Scarlet Snake Flame Dance? Lin Feng's eyes were filled with shock. Exactly the same spear move, but it was completely suppressed. Unable to move, the terrifying aura rushed towards him. The huge white snake seemed to want to swallow him whole. Pong! Lin Feng's arm went numb. He lost all feeling. Clang! The ice soul soaring dragon spear fell to the ground. The ice jade spear pierced his face, less than a centimeter away. Lin Feng could even feel the cold aura of the spear. Bone-chilling cold. Drip, drip. His face was cut by the strong wind from the spear, blood dripping down. Lin Feng felt a chill down his spine, cold sweat dripping down his forehead, his body inexplicably trembling. At that moment, he felt that he would be killed. Such a terrifying aura. Lin Feng raised his head, looking at Bing Shuang. Without a doubt, if she wanted to, the ice jade spear would move a little, perhaps. His blood would have splattered on the spot. This is the strength of a titled martial god. What did you feel? Bing Shuang withdrew the ice jade spear, her eyes sparkling. Death, Lin Feng muttered, then shook his head, carefully recalling the spear move just now. He seemed to have understood something. Aura. Lin Feng's eyes lit up. Bing Shuang nodded lightly, then sheathed the ice jade spear. Not bad. Bing Shuang revealed a light smile. Your perception is stronger than I thought. How long have you practiced the spear? 10 years. Lin Feng replied. Oh. Bing Shuang was slightly startled, frowning. Did anyone teach you? Lin Feng shook his head. When he was young, he had only practiced with the spear to increase his strength. As time passed, he gradually got used to it and grew fond of it. He could only practice and ponder on it. No wonder. Bing Shuang softly sighed. Soon after, she looked at Lin Feng and slowly asked, Do you know what is the spear technique realm? Spear technique realm? Lin Feng was startled and shook his head. He didn't understand. Spear technique realm, simply put, represents a martial artist's ability to control the spear. Bing Shuang's eyes sparkled. It's a very vague feeling. Maybe you can't understand it now, but slowly, you will feel its existence. The higher the realm of the spear technique, the more precise one's control over the spear will be, and the purer one's control over the strength will be. The more complex and powerful the spear move is, the higher the requirement for the realm of the spear art. Bing Shuang said lightly. For example, the firmament spear art. If you don't reach the second level, spear intent, you won't be able to comprehend it. Boom! Lin Feng felt like his head was about to explode. It was as if the originally blocked road had suddenly opened up. No wonder he couldn't comprehend the fourth level of the spear move. At first, he thought it was because of his movement technique. So, it was the spear technique realm. Just now, for the Scarlet Snake Flame Dance, I only used Emperor Wu's standard strength and speed. Bing Shuang said lightly. Lin Feng's eyes lit up as he recalled the scene just now. It was indeed so. No matter if it was the speed of the Ice Jade Spear or the movement technique, Teacher Bing Shuang was no better than him. But he was completely defeated. He didn't even have the strength to resist. Your spear moves only have the form, but not the intent, Bing Shuang said indifferently. The first realm of the spear technique is spear form. The second realm is spear intent. Do you still remember what the beginning of the firmament spear art said? Without spear intent, the spear move is like a person without a soul. It's just a body. Bing Shuang's voice was bone-chilling. Lin Feng's heart shook violently. Her words woke him up from his dream. In his mind, the firmament spear art seemed to have been flipped open once again. The memories of the past were still deeply imprinted in his mind. Any top-notch martial art has its own profound meaning. And the firmament spear art that I created, its profound meaning is dominance. When Lin Feng read this again, he immediately understood and broke through the clouds. All along, he had forgotten about the existence of profound meaning. Even though the spear move did contain a little dominance, a spear move was still a spear move. It was executed by a person. Lin Feng's eyes lit up. The scene of the battle just now appeared in his mind. In an instant, he was completely immersed in it. After 10 years of practicing the spear, Lin Feng's foundation was already sufficient. The only thing he lacked was the key to open the door. Teacher, what's wrong with Junior? Lala asked curiously. Looking at Lin Feng, who seemed to be in a daze, Bing Shuang smiled and nodded. He had an epiphany. Epiphany? Han Tai and Wang Chong were both shocked. What's an epiphany? Lala asked. It's a breakthrough, an opportunity. Bing Shuang's eyes flashed. This is an ability that only people with great comprehension can have. Just like the genius little sword who was blessed by the gods, he only needed to learn it once to understand it. And Lin Feng also has great comprehension. Han Tai and Wang Chong were both shocked. Even though they already had a high opinion of Lin Feng, they didn't expect he could be compared to the number one genius of the training camp, little sword, great comprehension, spear form, spear intent, like a human soul. Lin Feng pondered over and over again as he danced. From the beginning, it was intermittent. Gradually, the spear moves became coherent and connected perfectly. Slowly, as he danced with the spear, Lin Feng seemed to have comprehended many things. It was as if he was really immersed in doing something. Bit by bit, he used his heart to comprehend the meaning and principles behind it. Naturally, he would be able to learn many things. A feeling that was deeply imprinted in his mind, something that could not be replaced. Boom! Like a thunderclap, Lin Feng's ice soul, soaring dragon spear, suddenly seemed to come alive. As it danced, it seemed to have life. The eyes of the flying red snake shone brightly. It opened its bloody mouth, as if it really existed, even though it was still lacking compared to Bing Shuang's spear, but it already had a bit of spear intent. Domineering. Who? Lin Feng let out a long breath. Putting away the spear, he stood there in a daze. Looking at the ice soul, soaring dragon spear in his hand, Lin Feng was filled with emotions. Indeed, having someone to guide him and not, the difference was too big. If not for teacher Bing Shuang's guidance, he would probably be stuck at the bottleneck of spear technique for a long time. But now, I should have a bit of a beginner, right? Lin Feng smiled. This spear technique seemed to be similar to the level of movement technique and also similar to the control of fire. Suddenly, Lin Feng seemed to feel something and immediately turn around. He saw a girl dressed in white standing outside the spear arena. looking at him indifferently. Her eyes were bright, but her face was cold. Her tall body was curvaceous, and the long spear sheath on her back undoubtedly represented her identity. Including himself, there were only 5 students in the spear arena. Brother Tai, Senior Wang, Lala, and Senior Sister Zi Ling, full name, Han Xiling. Senior Sister Zi Ling, Lin Feng nodded and smiled. Okay. Han Xiling nodded her head gently before she left. As expected, she's as cold as the rumors. Lin Feng smiled and didn't care too much. After all, everyone had their own personality. The ice soul, soaring dragon spear in his hand shook. Lin Feng's eyes flashed. Strike while the iron is hot. Practice the 4th level of the firmament spear art. Tired? What was that? Knight Su sure. All 5 students in the spear arena were present, including Senior Sister Ziling. This time, Lin Feng didn't have any special training for him, but Frost would still give him some pointers from time to time. You can't poke here, use some force. You have to be gentle, slow, and slow down. You have to achieve a delicate balance with your own speed, understand? Lin Feng nodded his head continuously, accepting her advice humbly. Frost would also give him some pointers and demonstrations from time to time. Lin Feng was like a piece of white paper, slowly writing on it. Even though it was just a short 2 hours, he had benefited greatly. The guidance of a tidal martial god was something that could only be hoped for. Time passed in the blink of an eye. Frost wouldn't stay for an extra minute. Even though she was a teacher, she was also a martial artist. Naturally, she had to cultivate. Let's go, junior brother, let's eat. Wang Cheng hugged Lin Feng intimately. Perhaps it was because he hit it off with Lin Feng, or perhaps it was because Lin Feng had treated him as his idol since young. Wang Cheng felt close to him. Let's go together to celebrate the addition of a new junior brother to our spear dojo, Lala said excitedly. Lin Feng chuckled. He didn't care about the identity of junior brother. He was the latest to arrive, so naturally, he would be the junior brother. Let's go. Han Tai looked at Han Xiling with a silly smile. Han Xiling nodded. In the illusory world, on the stairway to heaven. Damn it, I lost a lot of money. Black Bear cursed with a dejected face. A total of 6 billion Tianwu coins flew away, just like that. To Black Bear, this sum of money was indeed a huge loss. Big Brother Bear, we must have been scammed. A sharp voice sounded. The one who spoke was a young man with a protruding mouth and monkey-like cheeks. He had a head of green hair and a sharp glint in his eyes. That little Jian has never gambled before, but this time, he bet on that newcomer Lin Feng. Furthermore, he made such a huge bet. Pada, the glass cup in his hand, was crushed into pieces. Black Bear's eyes flickered coldly as he tried to recall what happened yesterday. The more he thought about it, the more he felt that something was amiss. Damn it, little Jian, you bastard. You even dared to scam me. Black Bear roared. At this moment, the illusory world flashed, and several figures appeared. Black Bear glanced over, and upon seeing Lin Feng, he couldn't help but be taken aback. Green Ape, that brat looks unfamiliar. Who is he? Green Ape lowered his voice. Big Brother Bear, isn't that the newcomer Lin Feng who scammed you together with little Jian? It's him. Black Bear's eyes turned cold. Third update, a small update. I hope that everyone can subscribe to support the original version. Thank you. To be continued. If you like this work, you are welcome to come Chidian. Come to vote for me. Your support is my biggest motivation. Chapter 129. Take a seat. I'll go get something to eat. Han Tai smiled. Bring more wine. We'll hold a welcome banquet for Junior today. Wang Cheng laughed heartily. Lin Feng couldn't help but chuckle. He didn't mind. To be honest, he was rather happy. Naturally, the more friends he had, the better. The last to enter were Lala and Ziling. The appearance of the two beauties instantly attracted everyone's attention. Regardless of whether it was in the training grounds or Tianwu continent, female martial artists were highly sought after. Lala, Ziling, over here. Wang Cheng waved his hand and shouted. Just as he was about to sit down, suddenly, pa! He Xiong sat down on one of the seats. His tan muscles were as hard as steel, filled with explosive strength. He had a fake smile on his face. In an instant, the commotion in the surroundings quietened down. Everyone's gaze was focused on him. "What do you mean, He Xiong?" Wang Chong glared at him and slammed the table. "Is there a name on this seat?" He Xiong was surprised. He turned around to look at the green ape. The green ape also had an I don't know expression. Anyone with a discerning eye could tell that He Xiong didn't come with good intentions. He was intentionally looking for trouble. He Xiong must be feeling indignant after losing yesterday. This unfamiliar young man is probably that newcomer, Lin Feng. He's in for offending He Xiong. Listening to the conversation, even though it was just a few words, Lin Feng roughly understood the situation after organizing his thoughts. "So, he's here to find trouble with me." Lin Feng chuckled helplessly. He didn't expect that not only would he become the target of the bet, he would also be the target of the other party's anger. This was truly an undeserved calamity. "Forget it, senior." Lin Feng pulled Wang Chong's arm and smiled. "There are plenty of empty seats." Even though he wasn't afraid of causing trouble, it was best to save as much as possible. There was no need to make enemies everywhere. Wang Chong harumphed coldly, but he couldn't be bothered to argue with He Xiong. The two of them turned around and walked to another empty seat. But Pada, before Wang Chong could warm his seat, He Xiong sat down as well. "You?" Wang Chong was furious. "What do you want to do, Black Bear?" "Nothing." He Xiong smiled and clenched his fists. His knuckles made a crisp and pleasant cracking sound. He Xiong coldly glanced at Lin Feng, and the corner of his mouth curved slightly. "I just want to play with this little brother, Lin Feng." The green ape raised his eyebrows and pointed at the virtual space not far away. His intention was clear. A battle. Money can be lost, but face can't be lost. At this moment, everyone understood Black Bear's purpose, and their gazes immediately focused on Lin Feng. "I'm not interested," Lin Feng replied indifferently. That expression was as if he was sending away a beggar. Lin Feng looked at Black Bear indifferently, completely ignoring those eyes that were about to spit fire. He had come here for the battle god tempering plan. What was the point of this meaningless battle? Even if he won, what good would it do him? Face. It was so boring. Black Bear was so angry that he saw stars. The terrifying strength of his fist suddenly burst out, and with one punch, the table made of rare metal was smashed into pieces. Gasps could be heard from the crowd. In terms of strength, Black Bear was definitely one of the best in the training base. Of those who could stay here, which one of them was weak? What's more, Black Bear was a powerful existence ranked 10th in the rankings. "If you want to fight, I'll keep you company." A cold voice suddenly sounded. Lin Feng's expression changed slightly. He turned around and saw Han Xiling walking forward with a cold expression. Her bright eyes were bursting with fighting spirit, and her cold aura was bone-chilling. Although she was a head shorter than Black Bear, her aura was not inferior at all. Lin Feng's eyes were bright. He looked at the beautiful woman who was only a few years older than him, and he was slightly touched. Just like what Senior Brother said, as long as Junior Brother and Junior Sister were in trouble, Senior Sister Xiling would definitely stand up for them. Without hesitation, she was the #1 sister of the Spear Dojo. Black Bear gritted his teeth. As one of the 12 high-level Emperor Wu in the training base, he knew Han Xiling's strength very well. Although she was ranked 11th, one place lower than him, the rankings were based on potential, not strength. If he really fought Han Xiling in the virtual space, his chances of winning would not exceed 30%. Damn it, Black Bear cursed. He originally wanted to regain some face, but he did not want to lose it now. Han Xiling's invitation to fight, he could neither accept nor reject. Neither could he. "Lin Feng, you coward!" Black Bear directly ignored Han Xiling and roared. "Hiding behind a woman, are you still a King man? Or is your whole family coward, so?" Black Bear opened his mouth and could no longer speak. A dark space suddenly appeared in front of him, silent and annihilated. The terrifying aura completely enveloped him, and Black Bear inexplicably trembled from the bottom of his heart. The terrifying power surrounded him from all directions. Who could bear it? What could not? Lin Feng's eyes were emitting an extremely terrifying light, making people unable to look straight at him. His pitch-black pupils were like the eyes of a devil, and just the corner of his eyes was suffocating and terrifying. You can insult me, but it doesn't matter. Lin Feng stepped forward indifferently. His expression was cold, but his killing intent was exposed. But don't blame me for not being polite when you insult my family. Orange flames rose from his hands, forming a blazing fireball in an instant. Lin Feng's eyes were cold. Don't provoke me. You can't afford to. He could even kill the high-level Emperor Wu level with Spirit Master Green Wood Dove. So Lin Feng was never afraid of anyone. In terms of soul power, he was far superior to Black Bear. The surroundings were silent, and everyone was shocked by Lin Feng, but they did not expect that a newcomer would dare to go against the famous Black Bear. And Black Bear seemed to be completely at a disadvantage. God, what kind of newcomer is this? Huh. The fireball was extinguished. Lin Feng turned around and left, not even sparing Black Bear a glance. Perhaps in terms of martial cultivation, he was indeed inferior to Black Bear, but in terms of fighting prowess, killing Black Bear was as easy as flipping his hand. Sitting on the ground, Black Bear's back was completely drenched in cold sweat. Lin Feng's terrifying gaze was still lingering in his mind, as though it was a nightmare. He actually possesses the Eye of Illusion, just like Huan Yao. Black Bear shook his head in shock. He seemed to have offended someone he shouldn't have. Haha, how satisfying. Wang Chong laughed heartily. To think that so many things would happen in the short time I was gone. Han Tai was speechless. I'm sorry, everyone. He's here for me. Lin Feng sighed. Because of him, everyone didn't get to enjoy a good meal. What are you talking about? Isn't your problem our problem too? Wang Chong put his arm around Lin Feng's shoulder and smiled. We're fellow disciples. Indeed, Lala smiled. But little junior brother is truly incredible. That Black Bear nearly fainted from fright. Recalling the sight of Black Bear, everyone couldn't help but burst into laughter. Just as Wang Chong said, it was truly satisfying. Thank you, Senior Xiling. Lin Feng smiled. Han Xiling nodded her head. Her expression was still cold, but her eyes seemed to glow as she looked at Lin Feng. Right? Are we still going to eat? Han Tai asked. Are we going back? Lala pouted. No. Han Tai pointed at himself and said in a silly voice, I packed the wine and meat. Everyone glared at him. Lin Feng couldn't help but laugh. This Brother Tai was too amusing. Brother Tai, you're really a genius. Wang Chong burst into laughter. You can even think of packing. Why don't we go to Teacher Frost's place? Lala suggested. Good idea. Wang Chong's eyes lit up. Then what are we waiting for? Let's go. Looking at the students who seemed like a family, Lin Feng smiled. He couldn't help but look at Han Xiling beside him. Their eyes met. Let's go, Senior. Lin Feng smiled. Han Xiling replied with a soft gulping down wine and eating meat. Sometimes this was how relationships were slowly cultivated. After eating and drinking to their heart's content, everyone went their separate ways. The Tristramsa heaven. Entering again, Lin Feng wasn't as nervous as he was the first time. There was only a strong fighting spirit. Compared to yesterday, my body has improved after the tempering. Lin Feng thought. This time, in the fourth heaven, I must learn how to allocate my stamina reasonably. Unfamiliar the first time, familiar the second time. Only by experiencing and failing would one gain experience. I can enter once a day, so I naturally can't waste it. Lin Feng walked to one of the open doors, his expression calm. The 33 Heavens was a rare place in the training base for actual combat. Movement techniques and spear moves were useless just through hard work. Only through actual combat could one improve the fastest. Stepping through the bronze door, Lin Feng instantly felt like he had entered a strange world. The void was filled with stars, and there were layers of fog. Lin Feng gently closed his eyes. He was already familiar with the next steps. Soon, a majestic force gathered from all directions. In front of him, his clone slowly appeared. Suddenly, the world spun. Returning to this familiar land, Lin Feng felt an inexplicable sense of familiarity. It was the feeling of killing. And at this moment, a deep voice sounded. Choose, start from the fourth heaven, or start from the beginning. There's a choice? Lin Feng was surprised. The second time he entered, there were actually more tricks. Suddenly coming back to his senses, Lin Feng hesitated for a moment, then nodded indifferently. Start from the beginning. One more actual combat meant one more chance to learn. In the second heaven, I can learn how to distribute physical strength one more time. Lin Feng thought to himself. In addition, I've just grasped spear intent, so I can further comprehend it through actual combat. Start from the beginning, learn again. Lin Feng knew what he was lacking, so he naturally had to make up for it. Every day, he improved a little, accumulating, and slowly, the improvement would become bigger and bigger. Little drops make a mickle. What a pity, just a little bit more. Lin Feng sighed softly. As he stepped out of the 33rd heaven, Lin Feng recalled the battle on the 4th heaven and felt that it was a pity. Last time, he killed 66 man-devouring mad foxes and exhausted his physical strength. This time, he had enough physical strength, but he accidentally exhausted his soul power. His body was extremely weak, and his reaction speed was greatly reduced. Inexplicably, he was successfully ambushed by a man-devouring mad fox. He died an unnatural death. He killed 81 man-devouring mad foxes. Fortunately, there's some improvement. Lin Feng felt it was a pity, but there was no other way. At least, he learned a lot this time. For example, how to distribute physical strength and the comprehension of spear intent. I can only challenge it after midnight. Lin Feng shook his head and stepped out of the door. Suddenly, his footsteps stopped, and Lin Feng's expression changed. No, looking for recommendation votes, looking for subscription. If you like this work, you are welcome to come to Chidian. Come to vote for me. Your support is my biggest motivation. Chapter 130. He thought back to yesterday and compared it to today. Suddenly, Lin Feng realized that it's exactly the same. Lin Feng's eyes suddenly widened. Yesterday, I spent 2 cups of tea's time. Today, it's the same time. Once again, he carefully thought about the process of entering the 33 levels of heaven twice. Lin Feng's mind was like a surging tide, unable to calm down. After the body tempering and the glimpse of spear intent, the time he spent to enter the 33 levels of heaven this time. It was only half of yesterday's time, but in reality, the time spent was actually exactly the same. Could it be that the flow of time in the 33 levels of heaven? Lin Feng's eyes rapidly changed as he exclaimed, is fixed. Without a comparison, there was no basis. When he entered the 33 levels of heaven for the first time, he only remembered the pain of failure and did not pay attention to the small details. But now it was different. The 33 levels of heaven. Could it be an existence similar to the dark illusion? Lin Feng thought to himself. Others might not understand, but he had experienced it deeply. In the dark illusion, the time difference was an astonishing 101. But if it's really like this, why didn't the other students notice it? Lin Feng was puzzled again, but he immediately shook his head. No matter what, this was only his own guess. After midnight, I'll test it. Lin Feng nodded. Immediately, he disappeared alone. It can't be. The black bear ranked 10th was scared to the ground by a newcomer. Is this real or fake? This is not funny at all. Why would I lie to you? I was there. That newcomer Lin Feng is very strong. It seems like he has the illusion I like Huan Yao. Could it be that he is also a soul mutated? The training base was very small, and so was the circle. The matter in the virtual world quickly spread from 1 to 10, 10 to 100, and everyone knew about it. Everyone knew that there was an awesome newcomer in the training base, Lin Feng. His strength was a mystery. Just the sudden rise in the ranking on the first day was obvious. From the 111th place to the 60th place, such a huge margin. In the training base, there was no one like him. Lin Feng? Xiao Jian smiled indifferently and continued to brandish his swords. The tempering of the third martial god. A young man in black slowly closed his eyes with a calm expression. Pa! Pa! The cup in front of him seemed to have been sliced by a sharp blade and instantly shattered into pieces. Inside the room, Huan Yao's expression was like that of a ferocious devil. His dwarf body trembled slightly, and his eyes were like lightning. His bony hands were tightly clasped together as he screamed, "Eye of illusion! How could this brat have the eye of illusion?" In the sky martial continent, only I, Huan Yao, am the one and only illusionist. Lin Feng had become famous. Even though it wasn't what he wanted, the truth couldn't be changed. A person with strength, no matter where he went, would always be the center of attention. It's about time. Lin Feng sheathed the ice soul soaring dragon spear. I'd like to see what's so special about the 33rd heaven. Lin Feng muttered to himself as he tidied his clothes and headed towards the 33rd heaven. A secret. The reason it was a secret was because one didn't know. In the first heavens, dust billowed, and the violent sound of iron hooves resounded. 10-blade hell, golden-skinned pigs rushed over with bloodshot eyes. To an ordinary beginner-level Emperor Wu, this was definitely a terrifying scene. But to Lin Feng, it was just practice. Xiao! Xiao! The ice soul, soaring dragon spear pierced through the limits. If one looked closely, they would notice that compared to the first time he entered the 33 heavens, Lin Feng's spear moves seemed to have come alive and were extremely agile. Every attack carried a powerful aura, causing the spear moves to be unstoppable and even harder to block. Domineering. In the blink of an eye, the 9-blade hell, golden-skinned pigs were completely dead. I wonder how much time I have left? Lin Feng moved his feet slightly and easily dodged the remaining crazy blade hell, golden-skinned pig's attack. With his own strength, facing a mere blade hell, golden-skinned pig, was it a threat? Practice movement techniques? Lin Feng shook his head. Clearly, the effects were minimal. Practice elemental energy? With this thought, Lin Feng couldn't help but smile. Currently, it seemed to be a duplicate body. Practice spear arts. Lin Feng quickly found something to do. He flicked the ice soul, soaring dragon spear in his hand, and suddenly there was a loud bang. The blade hell, golden-skinned pig fell back like a kite with a broken string and landed heavily on the ground. Luckily, I didn't use too much strength, Lin Feng thought. Just now, it was a conditioned reflex. The pitiful blade hell, golden-skinned pig stumbled as it got up. It swayed violently and then rushed towards Lin Feng. The Horde Lords here don't seem to have intelligence, Lin Feng thought to himself as he retreated. Whether it was the blade hell, golden-skinned pig, or the man-devouring mad raccoon, they appeared in the 33 heavens with only one goal, and that was to kill him. Other than that, he couldn't sense any intelligence from them. They were like soldiers of death, one after another, and didn't know fear at all. I can't practice spear arts. Lin Feng sighed. The situation was clear. If he used any more strength, this blade hell, golden-skinned pig would have died long ago. Then I'll practice basic spear arts. Lin Feng's eyes turned cold. As he retreated, the ice soul, soaring dragon spear in his hand circled and tore with ease. In a few moves, the blade hell, golden-skinned pig's attack disappeared. The foundation of spear arts says that no matter how complicated a spear art is, it can't escape the 18 basic movements of blocking, grabbing, and tore. Blocking is defense, grabbing is control, and tore is attack. As for me, I've been practicing tore since I was young, and I'm best at attacking, Lin Feng thought to himself. In fact, 8 or 9 out of 10 people who practice spear arts by themselves would practice attacking. Unless they were carefully nurtured from a young age and were taught by a famous teacher, they would learn spear arts systematically. The more complicated a spear art is, the more basic spear arts it involves. Lin Feng was very clear that he had suffered a lot while comprehending the third layer of firmament spear art. For any spear art, the foundation was the key. It was like a building without a solid foundation. No matter how high it was built, it would still end up collapsing in the end. The spear was one of the hardest weapons to learn among the 18 types of weapons. As the saying goes, years of fists, months of staff training, and years of spear training. The difficulty of mastering the spear's foundation and understanding its essence was far more difficult than other weapons. This move, coil, requires a soft force. Tor, although it's a defensive move, it requires an extremely strong explosive force. Immersed in his practice, Lin Feng constantly recalled the 18 basic spear moves that Frost had demonstrated. Every time he practiced, he would be able to understand some of the essence. Lin Feng, who had never received proper training, felt that, right now, it was time for the great leap forward. Sadly, the Hell-Blade golden-skinned pig was tortured again and again. It was like a kite that was being pulled back and forth like a puppet. It was extremely miserable, but in the end, it was still liberated. First layer of heaven, time remaining, last 60 seconds. A familiar deep voice leisurely sounded. Lin Feng's movements suddenly slowed down. 59, 58. In his mind, it was as if a timer had appeared. Lin Feng thoughtfully nodded his head. As expected, time is not unlimited in the 33 layers of heaven. I probably practiced for an hour, just now, Lin Feng muttered. Immediately, the ice soul, soaring dragon spear lightly shook, like a sharp sword piercing through. Chi, the blade hell golden pig, announced its release. Second layer of heaven. Facing the 100 blade hell golden pigs again, Lin Feng was already treating them as if they were nothing. Rationally distributing his stamina, in less than half an hour, he had already cleared 99 of them. Only the blade hell golden pig was left. Obviously, it was miserable again. I wonder how much time is left in this layer of heaven. Lin Feng muttered to himself. He didn't waste a single second, even if it was only an hour. That was good too. What he lacked the most was time. Cultivation was a process of accumulating many little drops into an ocean. Time passed quickly. As the deep voice sounded in his mind again, Lin Feng ruthlessly killed. This time, the blade hell golden pig endured another hour of inhumane torture compared to the one in the first layer of heaven. Third layer of heaven. Tin Man devouring mad raccoons. It's a pity that I haven't grasped the perfect level movement technique. Lin Feng muttered to himself. Even though that short battle with Teacher Frost, he seemed to have felt the same feeling from before. But it was only for a moment. It was like a volcano erupting for a long time, but it only happened once. Perhaps I'll only have that sort of feeling again when I encounter a situation that truly exceeds the burden of my strength. Lin Feng pondered in his heart, and then he transformed into a shooting star that charged towards the 10 mad, devouring raccoons. Even though he didn't have the perfect level movement technique, Lin Feng was no longer as miserable as the first time, because the existence of spear intent. His imposing manner completely took the initiative in the battle. In just a short moment of attack, Lin Feng took away the lives of 3 man devouring mad raccoons. The long spear in his hand shook, and instantly, a powerful force exploded. Lin Feng's eyes flashed. Scarlet Snake Yanwu's defense. It seems the effect has improved. A perfect connection, instantly. Chi. Like an enormous snake opening its bloody mouth, the spear insight that covered the heavens and the earth instantly swallowed the man devouring mad fox. As expected, the basic spear technique training is very effective. Lin Feng's eyes brightened. In less than half an hour, 9 of the 10 man devouring mad raccoons were killed. The first time in the third layer of heaven, I spent 2 hours. The second time, I spent 15 minutes. Lin Feng faintly recalled, and the corners of his mouth couldn't help but reveal a faint smile. And this time, I only spent half an hour. The improvement was very significant. As expected, just like what Teacher Frost said, the realm of spear techniques is really. Lin Feng's eyes shone brightly. It's too important. Xiao Xiao needs to support her family, so she can only update more. I don't ask for anything else, but I hope everyone will subscribe and support the original version. Thank you. If you like this work, you're welcome to come to Qidian. Come to vote for me. Your support is my biggest motivation. Chapter 131. Coil, circle, defend. Tart, swing, flower dance. Lin Feng held the ice, soul, soaring dragon spear in his hand. Like a dancing butterfly, he kept moving back and forth. In the spear art's foundation, the 6 basic movements of block were displayed one after another, combined with the changes of his body movements. Although there were only 6 movements, they were ever-changing and wonderful. Lin Feng was like a playful child, immersed in it, until third layer of heaven, remaining time, last 60 seconds. The familiar deep voice sounded again. Lin Feng's movements slowed down, his eyes shining. Unknowingly, it's time again. The ice soul, soaring dragon spear in his hand pierced and pierced. Even if he didn't use any spear moves, there was still a strong, domineering aura faintly. Chi, the last man devouring mad raccoon, fell into a pool of blood. For hours. 33 layers of heaven. The time seems to double for each layer. Lin Feng secretly thought. If that's the case, wouldn't the time for the 5th layer, 6th layer, and even beyond be more and more? And when it comes to the 10th layer, the 20th layer, Lin Feng's eyes couldn't help but widen. Then, he gave a carefree laugh. Lin Feng shook his head. According to what Senior Brother said, the 33 layers of heaven is the same as the tempering pool. The 3 Emperor Wu levels are clearly separated. The tempering pool was divided into 3 sections. The first section was for beginner Emperor Wu, the second section was for intermediate Emperor Wu, and the third section was only for advanced Emperor Wu. They were not the same. In the 33 layers of heaven, beginner Emperor Wu entered the 1st layer, intermediate Emperor Wu entered the 11th layer, and advanced Emperor Wu entered the 21st layer. Lin Feng thought, although the points are different and the strength of the beasts are different, the amount of time they can stay in each layer should be about the same. Otherwise, the 33 layers of heaven would have been in chaos. At this moment, 3rd layer of heaven passed. 4th layer of heaven begin. A deep voice suddenly sounded, and Lin Feng immediately felt an abundant energy spread throughout his body, filling him with strength. Is it coming again? Lin Feng's eyes lit up. 100-man devouring mad foxes. He had suffered 2 consecutive setbacks here. This time I must pass. Lin Feng clenched his fists and exhaled deeply. In the blink of an eye, dark brown shadows appeared and covered the entire sky. Startling shrieks rang out, accompanied by many crazed beasts. This group of beasts, which could cause any medial-grade martial emperor to tremble in fear, finally appeared. His soul power was concentrated in that instant. Lin Feng's eyes were extremely bright. The scattered soul force in his mind seemed to be gathered by an invisible force. It was as if it had exploded. In Lin Feng's mind, a starry sky-like map suddenly appeared. All 100-man devouring mad foxes turned into stars and covered the entire area. Lin Feng's mouth curved up slightly. This was a secret technique that he had specially researched yesterday. He no longer needed to use it in a life and death situation. It was as if he could use his heart to see through the world. Therefore, Lin Feng named it Heart's Eye. 1 against 100. The astonishing battle was going on crazily. In the midst of the man devouring mad foxes, Lin Feng held the ice soul, soaring dragon spear in his hand and kept waving it. He dodged and counterattacked. His body was always able to dodge the attacks of the man devouring mad foxes. It seemed impossible, but he was not injured at all. One after another, the man devouring mad foxes fell, but the massacre did not stop. Chi. Lin Feng's eyes flickered, and his mind was incomparably focused. Tempering not only greatly increased my physical fitness, it also increased my control over my body to another level. After the spear cut open the neck of one of the man devouring mad foxes, Lin Feng instantly dodged and drilled out from an extremely small gap. The ice soul, soaring dragon spear flashed again. It was like the control over the primordial fire. It allowed him to control the primordial fire as he wished. Compared to the improvement of his physical fitness, this was the key and fundamental. This was also the true meaning of tempering. 15 minutes. 1 hour. time slowly passed, and the number of man-devouring mad foxes was also constantly decreasing. From 60 to 30, and then from 30 to 10. Persevere. Lin Feng's forehead was sweating. His body was exhausted, but his mind was still quite excited. Scarlet Snake Flame Dance. Although his strength was insufficient, the spear intent suddenly exploded, like a giant snake opening its bloody mouth. The momentum was shocking and terrifying. Chi! 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 One spear cut through the heads of 3 man-devouring mad foxes. An incomparably domineering spear intent. Lin Feng's strength was perfectly displayed, and the most important thing was firmly controlling the situation. 7 more. Lin Feng's eyes were filled with determination. His mind's eye was incomparably clear, and his body had almost reached its limit. However, his determination caused his potential to explode. So, after dodging 2 attacks in a row, Lin Feng suddenly felt an inexplicable familiar feeling coming from his body. The man devouring mad foxes in front of him entered his mind, and the next move seemed to flash in his mind. It was incomparably wonderful. In a split second, Lin Feng's eyes widened, and he was pleasantly surprised. Perfect level movement technique, Lin Feng shouted. His right foot landed on the ground, and the Ice Soul Soaring Dragon Spear immediately stabbed forward in a strange manner. Xiao! An arrow of blood shot out. It was as if he had already predicted that the man-devouring mad foxes would have room to dodge. In the blink of an eye, Lin Feng completely controlled the situation. 5, 4, 3. As the number of man-devouring mad foxes decreased, Lin Feng became more and more excited as he killed. Holding the Ice Soul Soaring Dragon Spear tightly, his killing speed instantly increased by several times. The perfect level movement technique, coupled with the spear intent, was simply unstoppable. Killing these man-devouring mad foxes was as easy as cutting grass. However, damn it, the spear pierced through the throat of the last man, devouring mad foxes. Lin Feng's killing had no choice but to stop. Depressing. Lin Feng was speechless. He finally found the feeling with great difficulty, but were the man-devouring mad foxes all dead? 4th layer of heaven passed. The familiar voice rang in his ears again. Lin Feng couldn't help but smile helplessly. At least I found that feeling again. Sighing lightly, Lin Feng could only comfort himself like this. A good start. Without any time to rest, the deep voice suddenly sounded again. 5th layer of heaven, begin. His body miraculously recovered, but Lin Feng's expression was very serious. Without a doubt, the difficulty of the 5th layer of heaven was definitely much higher than the 4th layer of heaven. I wonder what kind of magical beast it will be. Lin Feng thought to himself. Suddenly, a bright white light inexplicably appeared in front of his eyes. The surrounding air pressure pressed in from all directions, gradually converging into dots of light. Lin Feng opened his eyes wide, looking a little stunned. In the blink of an eye, the white dots of light condensed into the shape of a human, no matter the height, body shape, or even the spear in the hand. It was exactly the same as him. Are you kidding? Lin Feng was confused. Did he see it wrongly? The answer was revealed almost instantly. As the white light faded away, the white figure's eyes flashed with a trace of blood red. It suddenly stepped forward, the spear in its hand whistling through the wind, piercing straight towards Tung Qingshan, flowing light in an instant. So fast, Lin Feng was shocked and quickly dodged. However, the spear was like a venomous snake, inexplicably elongating a little. In the air, a thick murderous intent rushed towards Tung Qingshan. Oh no, it's a feint, Lin Feng thought to himself. Tung Qingshan actually fell into an absolute disadvantage. Tung Qingshan tried his best to dodge, but the surrounding pressure surged towards him like a tidal wave. That terrifying pressure carried an indomitable aura, completely suppressing him. It was as if it was unstoppable, domineering. I lost just like that? Lin Feng looked helpless. One wrong move, and the whole game was lost. From the beginning, he was at a disadvantage, and the situation was completely under the control of the light figure. Other than barely resisting and defending, he didn't have the slightest ability to counterattack. Terrifying strength. Lin Feng shook his head. Although there was only one enemy in the 5th layer of heaven, the difficulty was much higher than the 4th layer of heaven. Sure enough, each layer is harder than the last. Lin Feng sighed. No wonder there are so few who can pass the 4th layer of heaven, and even fewer who can pass the 5th layer of heaven. This light figure's physical fitness had reached the limit of beginner Emperor Wu. In terms of spear intent, it wasn't inferior to Tung Qingshan at all. In terms of movement, Tung Qingshan couldn't even defend himself. Complete defeat. I didn't lose unjustly. Lin Feng smiled casually, but he didn't care. It was like falling twice in the 4th layer of heaven. Without experiencing failure, how could one succeed? If he was really invincible, why would he need to come to the training base? One step at a time, I will definitely pass the 5th layer of heaven. Lin Feng nodded heavily. He firmly believed in his own strength. Days passed by one after another. Lin Feng was living a very stable life in the training base. Twice a day in the spear dojo, once a day in the 33 layers of heaven, and once every 3 days in the tempering pool. Lin Feng's strength steadily increased. His spear techniques improved by leaps and bounds under Bing Shuang's guidance. He used the 33 layers of heaven to train his basic spear techniques. And in the tempering pool, Lin Feng's speed of improvement was even more astonishing. January 22nd, entered the number 6 tempering pool and lasted for 45 seconds. January 25th, entered the number 6 tempering pool and lasted for 51 seconds. January 28th, lasted for a total of 56 seconds. What a little monster, his improvement speed is too fast. Old Sun shook his head speechlessly. Although the effects of body tempering were amazing, Lin Feng's physical fitness was also constantly increasing. Mystery of Souls played an important role in this. The rapid increase of his soul power caused Lin Feng's willpower to increase as well. Although the increase wasn't great, but with the increase of his physical fitness, it wasn't surprising that the effects of the tempering pool were getting better and better. The tempering pool was the same as the 33 layers of heaven. The higher the level, the more points, the higher the points. In less than 10 days, Lin Feng's ranking shot up like a rocket. From 60th to 50th, then from 50th to 40th. As of January 28th, Lin Feng's ranking was 33rd. And this wasn't the end. Late 3rd update. I hope everyone can recommend, subscribe, and support me. Xiao Xiao isn't a god. Subscriptions, recommendations, tips, reviews, every little bit is important. Thank you. To be continued. If you like this work, you are welcome to come to Chidian. Come to vote for me. Your support is my biggest motivation. Chapter 132. The City in the Sky. This was a city that only titled martial gods were qualified to live in. No, to be precise, it was not a city. In the temple of the city in the sky, 8 martial artists were gathered at this time, sitting around a huge round table with golden dragons dancing in the air. Everyone's face was as cold as frost. The 8 giants of a human race. A man in plain clothes stood indifferently. His ordinary face did not have any special features, but the temperament that faintly exuded made people respect and believe in him. The beast horde's rampage is more violent than I imagined. The time of the appearance of the high-level giant beast overlord was a full 4 months earlier than expected. I think everyone knows what this means. This is definitely not a level 8 beast riot, but a truly tragic, a level 9 beast riot. In the virtual world, the light screen stairway. After finishing the training in the spear dojo, Lin Feng and the others came here to eat. Since the last time the black bear caused trouble and suffered a great loss, no one dared to provoke Lin Feng and the others. Compared to the saber dojo and the sword dojo, although there were fewer people in the spear dojo, they were very united. In particular, the strength of Han Xiling and Lin Feng was not weak at all. Han Xiling, in the high-level Emperor Wu's strength, was definitely ranked at the top. Lin Feng, as strong as the black bear, had to avoid him, although his ranking was not high on the scoreboard. But one must know that Lin Feng was only a junior Emperor Wu. If one put aside the high-level Emperor Wu and the intermediate Emperor Wu, and only looked at the 67 junior Emperor Wu in the training base, Lin Feng's ranking was fourth, an extremely proud result. That figure of light. How can I win? Lin Feng's left fist lightly supported his chin, his eyebrows slightly sunk. 7 days in a row, a crushing defeat. It was like a threshold that was quite difficult to cross. Its spear technique realm, body technique level, and physical fitness are all above mine. Lin Feng carefully analyzed and could not help but sigh softly. This figure of light was a sublimated version of himself. In terms of the level of spear technique, his comprehension and display of spear intent had just surpassed him by a thread. In terms of the level of his movement technique, even though he had slowly stabilized his perfect stage movement technique during these 7 days, he was still only at the rudimentary stage. As for the figures of light, they were at least at the initial success level. In terms of physical fitness, whether it was strength, speed, or physical toughness, the figure of light was at the highest level of beginner-level Emperor Wu. Even though he had undergone continuous tempering, his strength and speed were already extremely close to the limit, and his body's toughness had long since surpassed that of the high-level Emperor Wu, but in the 33 layered heavens, physical strength was of no use. There are only 2 things in which I am stronger than the figure of light: spear moves and soul power. Lin Feng nodded. He had already begun to comprehend the 4th level of the firmament spear art. As for the figure of light, its strongest move was still the 10th move of the 3rd level, Scarlet Snake Flame Dance. As for soul power, other than the heart's eye, it had no other use. The illusory figure of light was completely immune to his soul power. Just as he was thinking, Junior brother? Wang Chang's voice suddenly sounded by his ear. Lin Feng immediately came back to his senses. What's wrong? Nothing much. We were just discussing the month-end qualifiers. The announcement just came out, and it's currently spreading like wildfire. Wang Chang smiled. The top 32 with the total points are all qualified to participate. Month-end qualifiers? Lin Feng was startled, and a confused expression appeared on his face. What was that? Hee. Looking at Junior Brother's expression, I can tell that he's immersed in his training and has turned a deaf ear to my words. Han Tai laughed foolishly. It's like this. The Doomsday Plan has added a new benefit, the quota to enter the ancient ruins. Ancient ruins? What's that? Lin Feng asked. Is it different from the ancient ruins? Everyone laughed heartily. Lala shook her head with a smile. Of course it's different. The difference is too great. The ancient ruins are something from the previous era, just 10,000 years apart. Lala smiled and said, but the ancient ruins have existed for tens of millions of years. Tens of millions of years. Lin Feng couldn't help but jump in fright. In the training base, there's also an ancient ruin. Lala blinked her eyes and said something that would shock everyone to death. Really? Lin Feng was startled. Immediately, the flat pagoda-like existence appeared in his mind, and Lin Feng exclaimed, It's the Trayastrimsa heaven? In the training base, all the ancient ruins had energy restrictions. Only the Trayastrimsa heaven didn't. Junior brother is indeed smart. Lala pretended to be mature as she replied, but suddenly laughed and shook her head. You're half right. The Trayastrimsa heaven isn't an ancient ruin, but it's only a part of the ancient ruins. A part? Lin Feng's expression changed. His heart was like a raging sea, and he couldn't calm down. Lala's words were very clear. Heavens, so this is the training base. Lin Feng looked around in shock. It's actually an ancient ruin. Ancient ruins have great divine power. For example, the only completely open dragon transformation, Han Tai said seriously, any martial artist of Emperor Wu's level can enter. As long as they can come out alive, they'll be titled martial gods. Lin Feng's mind exploded. Coming out alive? They'll be titled martial gods? Lin Feng was stunned. This dragon transformation of the ancient ruins was too terrifying. Wait a minute. Completely open? Emperor Wu's level can enter. Lin Feng's eyes lit up. In other words, I can enter too? His heart thumping wildly. Lin Feng felt a faint sense of excitement. Brother Tai only said a part of it. Wang Chong patted Tai Chin's shoulder and said. Wang Chong smiled and patted Lin Feng's shoulder. If it's really that good, wouldn't you have already broken your head? As he spoke, Han Tai couldn't help but chuckle. Lin Feng nodded his head. Clearly, it wasn't that simple. Opportunity and danger are equal. Wang Chong exhaled lightly and slowly said, in the dragon transformation of the ancient ruins, the survival rate of high-tier Emperor Wu is less than 10%. The survival rate of middle-tier Emperor Wu is less than 1%, and the survival rate of low-tier Emperor Wu is 0%. So that's the case. Lin Feng was enlightened. However, since there's a survival rate, it's clear that there are people who have succeeded before, Lin Feng said. This is also known as the trial of death. Wang Chong nodded his head solemnly and said, many times, if an expert of Emperor Wu's level knows that there's no hope for him to break through, he will risk everything and enter the trial of death in an attempt to find an opportunity. As the beast horde rampage becomes more and more terrifying, there will probably be more and more martial artists entering the trial of death. Perhaps I might be one of them, Wang Chong said solemnly. Everyone's expression turned grim. Clearly, this was what they were thinking as well. If they couldn't become a titled martial god, then only death awaited them. But if they entered the trial of death, they might still have a chance at survival. Lin Feng gave a soft him. If he were in their shoes, he would have made the same choice. But he still had plenty of time, so there was no need to cut off all means of retreat. Right, junior brother, what were you thinking about just now? Wang Chong asked curiously. I was thinking about how to pass the fifth heaven. Everyone present was on the same side, so Lin Feng naturally didn't need to hide anything. Besides, this wasn't a big deal. What? The fifth heaven? Everyone looked at each other with strange expressions on their faces. What's wrong? Lin Feng was curious. This wasn't anything to be surprised about. Based on what he knew, there were quite a few students who had passed the fifth heaven. We thought that you had already passed the sixth or even the seventh heaven. Wang Chong chuckled. Wang Chong smiled. Based on this, junior brother's points in the tempering pool, Lala covered her mouth in shock. She looked at everyone, and all of them looked at Lin Feng as though they were looking at a monster. Heavens, at least tempering pool 7. Lala was very smart, and in fact, every member of the hunt had some kind of outstanding ability. Even though there weren't any points in the stairway to heaven, as long as one was good at calculation and wanted to estimate, it wasn't difficult. Lin Feng smiled. He didn't admit or deny it. The points in the tempering pool are much harder than the 33 heaven. Han Tai couldn't help but sigh. Indeed, Wang Chong shook his head. He felt the same way. But it's very difficult to reach the 5th heaven from the 33 heaven. Lala looked at the quiet Han Xiling and said in admiration, among us, only Sister Xiling can pass it. She's at the 27th heaven now. Lin Feng's eyes lit up. Advanced Emperor Wu's 27th heaven was equivalent to Elementary Emperor Wu's 7th heaven. This usually quiet senior was indeed very powerful. It was no wonder that she was able to squeeze out Black Bear and was ranked 10th on the leaderboard. Actually, the 5th heaven isn't a test. Han Xiling's voice was very calm. Lin Feng was stunned. He didn't understand why. The 5th heaven is the reward. Han Xiling nodded lightly at Lin Feng. It was just 2 short sentences, but it contained all the meaning. Lin Feng was stunned. Not only was he shocked, he was also enlightened. He had completely drilled himself into a dead end. Yes, why is it so coincidental? No matter what, the figure of light is better than me. This is basically a template. It allows me to have a clear goal, a template to learn and improve. I'm really stupid. I only thought about how to defeat it, but I completely ignored the meaning of its existence. The scenes of the past 7 days appeared in his mind. It was like a book that was flipped open page by page. Lin Feng read carefully, reviewing the old and learning the new. There seemed to be a lot of information in his mind. There were many thoughts, ideas, and immediately he took action. I'm sorry, everyone. I have something to do. I'll leave first. With his eyes shining, Lin Feng quickly got up. He disappeared like a gust of wind. Lin Feng couldn't wait to rush home immediately. Cultivate and cultivate again. He wanted to completely transform the experience of the past 7 days into his own strength. Everyone was left behind with a confused expression, but they all smiled freely. The first update has arrived. Everyone has been waiting for a long time. Xiao Xiao apologizes here. There are 2 more updates today. Although Xiao Xiao's writing may be a little slow, today's matter ends today. In order to continue to support Xiao Xiao, Xiao Xiao will never stop typing before I finish writing. To be continued. If you like this work, you are welcome to come to Qidian. Come to vote for me. Your support is my greatest motivation. Chapter 133. Inside the training room. Holding the ice soul soaring dragon spear in his hand, Lin Feng kept dancing like a fire snake. A majestic aura filled the huge room, giving people a domineering feeling. Lin Feng's eyes flickered, and the 7 days of fighting with the light man constantly appeared in his mind. Every movement, every feeling change, they were all subtle and familiar to him. He continued to practice and ponder. Gradually, the 2 silhouettes seemed to overlap with one another. He and the light man seemed to be one. The scene in his mind gradually blurred and became hazy. There was a very special feeling, like 2 clouds slowly merging. Suddenly, there was a bang in his head. Lin Feng suddenly saw himself, holding the ice soul soaring dragon spear, his feet moving in a strange way. It was simple but neat, and every step contained a specific rhythm. Chi, the ice soul soaring dragon spear, seemed to come alive. In the void, a huge fire snake spat out blood. Its incomparably huge body was like a giant beast, covering the sky in an instant. Yes, that's the feeling. Lin Feng's eyes lit up, and he was very happy. At this moment, he deeply felt that awe-inspiring domineering. That was the true meaning of the firmament spear art, spear intent. The domineering overlooking the earth. Lin Feng was in seclusion. Although it was a bit funny to be in seclusion in the training base, it was rare. However, a persistent person would not consider what others thought of him. The key was how he felt. Feelings would not come just because you wanted it. Just like opportunities, you could only encounter them by chance. When the opportunity came, he must grasp it well. For 3 days in a row, Lin Feng did not step out of the house. Whether it was the spear martial field or the 33 layers of heaven, Lin Feng completely forgot about them. All his mind was focused on the spear intent and the perfect level body movement. The 7 days of failure was not a real failure, but turned into a full experience fruit, swallowing into his stomach. Lin Feng only had one thing to do: digest. January 31st. This was the last day of the first month of the Battle God Tempering Plan. Illusory world, light screen stairway to heaven. Today was especially lively. All the students were eagerly awaiting the final ranking in January. It wasn't just related to the distribution of February's time points and the material rewards. Most importantly, the top 32 rankers in the leaderboard would be able to compete for the 2 slots to enter the ancient ruins. That was the primordial ruins. It was definitely the dream of every student. Suddenly, heavens, look! A surprised voice was heard. Wow, am I seeing things? Little Sword jumped to 2nd place in an instant. Really? In front of the light screen stairway, the emotions of all the students were instantly ignited. The top 3 rankings had not changed for half a month, but on the last day, there was actually a dramatic change. 1. Fong Ning, 32-2. Small Sword, 1/1. 3. Dugu Feng 8. Little Sword, who was originally in 5th place, actually surpassed Dugu Feng on the last day and became 2nd place. Tulu Wan Air, who was originally in third place, fell out of the top 3. This stinking brat. Tulu Wan Air was extremely angry and laughed. Last time, he lied to me and said that he had reached his limit. But now, he broke through in the 33rd heaven. Tulu Wan Air sighed and couldn't help but shake her head. She was envious. Last time, he was in the 8th heaven. This time, he must have entered the 9th heaven, as expected of a genius favored by God. In the corner, a man with an aquiline nose who was originally drinking wine had a sharp glint in his eyes. His body inadvertently emitted a murderous and bloody aura, causing the surrounding students to retreat 3 feet away and not dare to approach him. Senior Emperor Wu, Dugu Feng, genius. A cold glint flashed in Dugu Feng's eyes. The scabbard at his waist shook. See you in the selection. Everyone was paying close attention to Little Sword's ranking. However, in the end, he still couldn't surpass Fong Ning, who was in first place. This name that made people's hearts tremble was like a high and mighty emperor that no one could surpass. Even if it was Little Sword, who was known as the genius favored by God. It was the same. At this time, no one noticed that Lin Feng, who had fallen to the 36th place because of his closed-door cultivation, had quietly climbed to the 32nd place. Compared to the shock brought by Little Sword, Lin Feng's result was too inconspicuous. Lin Feng came out as closed-door cultivation. Just like how no one knew about his closed-door cultivation, his exit was also very low-key. Lin Feng walked out of the tempering pool calmly. He couldn't help but stretch his body. He felt invigorated. I finally exceeded 60 seconds in tempering pool number 6. A smile appeared on Lin Feng's face. He clenched his fist. Next time, I can enter tempering pool number 7. The higher the level of the tempering pool, the better the effect. Lin Feng was clear on this point. In just 10 days, his body had already shown some results from the tempering. It was as though he was shedding his skin, shedding off a layer of heavy outer shell, allowing him to control his body more freely. Today is the last day. I still have one more trip to the Dragon Spine Road and one more trip to the Trestrimsa Heaven. Lin Feng smiled calmly. However, it's still early. It won't be too late for me to meet my senior brothers and sisters. With this thought in mind, Lin Feng immediately took a step forward. Look, everyone, look! Wang Chong suddenly shouted. Look at what? Han Tai was confused. Han Xiling and Lala looked in the direction of Wang Chong's finger. Their faces immediately changed into surprise. What's wrong? Han Tai looked at the light screen on the stairway to heaven. He was still a little confused. Junior brother is amazing. He reached the 32nd place. Lala said excitedly. Han Xiling's eyes were also glowing. Following Lala's excited shout, everyone noticed the change in the rankings. In an instant, gasps of surprise could be heard. The 32nd place was a rather special position. Even though it wasn't high, it was just right to be able to participate in the qualifiers at the end of the month, to fight for a slot to enter the ancient ruins. No, a shocked cry suddenly sounded. A skinny young man's face was ashen. 33rd place Gong Lai, being squeezed out of the top 32 at the last moment. Undoubtedly, it was as though he had fallen into a bottomless abyss. At this moment, the light screen outside the illusory world lit up and a figure appeared. His appearance instantly attracted everyone's attention. Lin Feng was stunned. He didn't understand why he attracted everyone's attention the moment he entered. Lin Feng, a furious voice sounded. Lin Feng couldn't help but frown. Looking over, he saw a pale, skinny young man striding over. His eyes were burning, as though he wanted to melt Lin Feng. However, he didn't seem to know him. I want to challenge you. Gong Lai's eyes were spitting fire as he roared. The moment the words left his mouth, Gong Lai regretted it. At this moment, he finally remembered who the Lin Feng in front of him was. He wished he could give himself 2 tight slaps. Just now, because he lost control of his emotions, he was in a mess. But now, the words that he said were like water that couldn't be taken back. Hey, did this guy eat a bear's heart or a leopard's guts? Who knows? Maybe he has a plan. There will be a good show to watch. The surrounding people whispered to each other. They all admired Gong Lai's courage. The newcomer Lin Feng in front of them looked ordinary, but he was a ruthless person. Even He Xiong, who was ranked 11th on the rankings, had to let him go. This Gong Lai was simply asking for humiliation. All the students looked at Lin Feng. They wanted to see how he would teach this arrogant guy a lesson. However, Lin Feng made everyone's jaws drop. "Who are you?" With a hint of doubt, Lin Feng's expression couldn't be more sincere. Gong Lai's face flushed red, and he saw stars. No matter how well-mannered he was, he would still be angered half to death by Lin Feng's words. "You want to challenge me?" Lin Feng asked again. "No, I don't," Gong Lai replied reflexively. But suddenly, he heard the laughter around him. Recalling what he had just said, he was at a loss for words. Chuckling, Lin Feng shook his head and walked toward Wang Chong's group. He didn't have the time to play with him. Leaving Gong Lai alone, he didn't know whether to stand or leave. "At this moment, I want to challenge you." A sharp voice was as ear-piercing as glass, unpleasant to the ears. But everyone's expression instantly changed. In the training base, there was only one person who had such a unique voice. A sharp glint flashed across Lin Feng's eyes. He turned around indifferently and looked at the unique figure, Huan Yao. "I'm not interested," Lin Feng rejected without even thinking. Just like when he rejected He Xiong, this kind of fight for face was too boring. "You don't dare." Huan Yao's mouth twitched coldly as he mocked. Lin Feng looked at Huan Yao and shrugged. "It's just an unfair victory." "You." Huan Yao's face instantly turned cold. Lin Feng's words were clearly looking down on him. "Nonsense. Say that if you have the ability to defeat me." Huan Yao coldly snorted. His bright eyes shone with incomparable confidence. Lin Feng smiled faintly. "How about this? If your ranking is above mine, I'll accept your challenge." Lin Feng pointed at the staircase, his eyes gleaming. "Points?" Huan Yao was startled. Then he laughed loudly. Even the surrounding students revealed a carefree smile. Huan Yao's points were currently ranked 20th. He was 12 places higher than Lin Feng. But Lin Feng was still very calm. "It seems that you're very confident." Huan Yao's eyes shone brightly. Lin Feng smiled indifferently and didn't comment. "Confident? Why would he do something that he wasn't confident in? If that's the case, how about we raise the stakes?" Huan Yao gritted his teeth as his eyes lit up. "Oh!" Lin Feng raised his eyebrows and couldn't help but chuckle. It seemed that he wasn't the only one who was scheming against him. Huan Yao was also scheming against him. Interesting. Second update. Oh my god, this chapter took 8 hours. Xiao Xiao couldn't believe it. It felt so bad that it completely exceeded the time. I'm sorry everyone, but I have to owe you a chapter today. I hope that I can get a good night's sleep and make up for tomorrow. I apologize again. To be continued. If you like this work, you are welcome to come to Chidian. Come to vote for me. Your support is my biggest motivation. Chapter 134. How about 1 billion Timu coins? Huan Yao laughed coldly. The crowd was in an uproar. Although most of them were rich, 1 billion Timu coins was still a huge sum. Other than Xiao Jian, He Xiong, De Luan and the others, there weren't many who could take out such a large sum of money. However, Huan Yao was obviously one of them. Lin Feng smiled and nodded. Sure. Huan Yao's eyes changed. He didn't expect Lin Feng to agree so quickly. He gritted his teeth. I'm talking about 1 billion Tianwu coins per rank. In an instant, gasps could be heard. Everyone's eyes widened. What did this mean? Lin Feng was now ranked 32, and Huan Yao was ranked 20. The difference was 12 ranks, 12 billion Tianwu coins. This amount of money was more than enough to buy a large city. I accept. Without any hesitation, Lin Feng's expression was still calm, as if this was an insignificant number to him. This reaction caused Huan Yao's expression to turn extremely unsightly, and he ground his teeth so hard that they creaked. He originally wanted to make Lin Feng lose face, but now, he was the one who couldn't back down. Good. Huan Yao nodded. His disgusting face emitted a strange voice. He pointed at the virtual space, his eyes cold. Let's go to the virtual sphere to estimate the price and bet. The virtual sphere was one of the functions of the virtual space to estimate the price. Any valuable item could be placed in the virtual sphere to estimate the most accurate price. Okay. Lin Feng smiled faintly and walked towards the illusory sphere. The reason why he was so calm and composed was because he had already played with the virtual sphere. Heavens, what a huge bet! According to the rules, the bet is 10 times. Isn't that 10 billion Tianwu coins? Do you think Lin Feng has that much money? Everyone started to talk, and the scene became lively. There wasn't much entertainment in the training base. The battles and gambling in the virtual space were undoubtedly the most eye-catching and addictive. In an instant, the screens on both sides of the virtual space lit up. On the right side of the screen that represented Fantasy World, numbers kept flashing. 1, 2, 3, 18, 19. The value of the illusory sphere was in the hundreds of millions. Soon after, the number climbed to 30. Everyone nodded their heads. They could tell that Huan Yao's family was indeed rich. However, the light screen on Lin Feng's side did not move at all. Hey, don't tell me you can't afford it. It's normal that you can't take it out. Are you joking? Do you have 10 billion Tianwu coins? If you don't have such a big head, don't wear such a big hat. Some people mocked him, while others took pleasure in his misfortune. This was human nature. After all, Lin Feng had risen too quickly. He was just a beginner Emperor Wu newbie, but he had managed to climb to 32nd place in a short 10 days. It was indeed very enviable. 2 platinum disc flying vessels, each worth 500 million Tianwu coins. 1 fluorescent compass, 800 million Tianwu coins. As for fire spirit pills, the materials from the fire spirit beasts don't seem to be worth much. Lin Feng smiled. He had indeed made a lot of money back then. A large amount of fire spirit pills, material for the fire spirit beasts, but they were too hot to sell. Now it was even better. It was a pile of useless goods. As his strength rose, these things were no longer worth his attention. Looks like this is the only thing left. Lin Feng slowly took out the cloud shuttle and placed it into the transparent, illusory sphere. In an instant, on the left side of the light screen representing Lin Feng, a number suddenly appeared. However, it was not like Huan Yao's slow accumulation. Instead, it jumped and stopped in the blink of an eye. All the students were silent. Their mouths were wide open, looking very comical. They had all turned into statues. At this time, the number on the right side of the light screen representing Huan Yao had climbed to 100 with difficulty. Behind the light screen, Huan Yao stepped out with a gloomy expression. He had bet most of his family's wealth. 10 billion Tianwu coins was indeed not something an ordinary person could afford. I don't believe that Lin Feng has so much capital. Huan Yao coldly snorted. When he came out, he saw everyone's stunned expressions. He could not help but feel proud. A bunch of bumpkins. I reckon they will never see that much money in their entire lives. Huan Yao raised his head in an arrogant manner. However, his appearance coupled with his midget figure made him look extremely comical. Seeing that no one was even looking at him, Huan Yao could not help but frown. He had a bad premonition in his heart. He quickly raised his head. Bang! His head exploded. Huan Yao's eyes widened rapidly. No, impossible. His body could not help but retreat. Looking at the number on the light screen, Huan Yao looked as if he had seen a devil. His face became incomparably distorted. 1,000. A total of 100 billion Tianwu coins. Compared to Huan Yao's shabby 10 billion Tianwu coins, it was like comparing a rich merchant to a commoner. Rumble, in an instant, everyone's emotions were ignited. F*CK. Are my eyes playing tricks on me? F*CK. 100 billion Tianwu coins. Where did this Lin Feng come from? Mommy, I'm dizzy. Big brother Tai, is this true? Wang Chong was stunned. Han Tai shook his head. His originally simple and honest face seemed to be even more dazed. Wow, junior brother is so rich. Lala's eyes were shining. Han Xiling could not help but shake her head. Indeed, 100 billion Tianwu coins was hard to imagine. At this moment, Little Sword was lazily walking into the illusory world. Seeing that everyone was in an uproar, Wang Chong casually glanced over, and his expression instantly changed. F*CK, 100 billion Tianwu coins? Huan Yao felt a little regretful in his heart. It was clear that this Lin Feng was not as simple as he had thought. However, the matter was settled. Coldly glancing at Lin Feng, who was walking out of the illusory world, Huan Yao's eyes were cold and sharp. So what if he's rich? This is a competition of rankings. Don't think that you're the only one who hasn't entered the Dragon Spine Road. Not only do I have a chance to enter the Dragon Spine Road, I also have a chance to enter the Tempering Pool today. Elementary Emperor Wu's points are multiplied by 4, but mine is multiplied by 10. Huan Yao's face twisted savagely. A competition of points? Oof. This time, I'll make you regret it. Gritting his teeth, Huan Yao turned around and walked away. Lin Feng did not mind the strange gazes of the crowd. Smiling, he walked toward Lin Feng's group. Seeing those familiar faces that he had not seen for a long time, Lin Feng felt a sense of familiarity. Senior brother, senior sister, Lin Feng greeted with a smile. Wang Chong raised his eyebrows and meaningfully said, "Junior brother, you've kept us in the dark for quite some time." Lin Feng naturally knew what Wang Chong was talking about. Shaking his head, he said, "This is a family heirloom." He was not lying. The cloud shuttle was indeed given to him by his father. "Ah," Lala exclaimed. "Then what if you lose?" Wang Chong frowned. He had thought that Lin Feng had hidden his wealth well, but from the looks of it, that was not the case. Lin Feng smiled faintly. How could he possibly do something that he was not confident in? "Don't worry, it'll be fine." Lin Feng nodded with a smile. After not seeing each other for a long time, the group began chatting happily. When they talked about the upcoming month in selection, they were incomparably excited. For the 2 slots for the ancient ruins, they will definitely fight until their heads bleed. Lala smiled. It's rare to see such a battle between experts. Even if I'm just watching, I will definitely benefit greatly from it. Wang Chong nodded. That's right. Occasionally, experts will enter the illusory space to spar, but they are all in a shielded mode, so I can't even watch, Lala pouted. Lin Feng smiled. Coming here often, he knew a thing or two about the illusory space. Usually, those who fought in the illusory space were the lower-ranked students, who would allow others to watch a spar between true experts. Wouldn't that be exposing one's strength? Or perhaps a secret? Right. What are the rules of the selection? Lin Feng asked curiously. 1 round every 2 days. Elimination system. Every day at noon. Han Xiling calmly replied. There are only 2 slots every month. Oh, Lin Feng nodded thoughtfully. But in terms of fighting strength, the advanced Emperor Wu definitely has the advantage. Lala smiled at Han Xiling. Lin Feng nodded. Even though senior sister Han Xiling was ranked 10th on the rankings, she was one of the strongest of the 12 advanced Emperor Wu. Not necessarily. Han Xiling shook her head. Take Huan Yao, for example. Few in the entire training base can block his eye of illusion. Little Jian, even though he's only an elementary Emperor Wu, no one dares to underestimate him. And then there's the one who has always been ranked first on the rankings. Fong Ning. His strength is a mystery. There are too many of them, Han Xiling said slowly. There are many crouching tigers and hidden dragons in the hunt. Many people are good at hiding their strength. Everyone nodded. Indeed, which one of those who could enter the hunt would be weak? Fong Ning. Lin Feng stared at the stairway to heaven on the light screen. Looking at the lofty name, he seemed to be in a daze. At this moment, Wang Chong's surprised voice sounded from behind. Lin Feng's eyes lit up. Huan Yao, who was originally ranked 20th, suddenly rose in rank. 18, 17. The speed wasn't fast, but it was steadily climbing up. A commotion broke out in the hall. The bet between Lin Feng and Huan Yao had already become the hottest topic. Everyone wanted to know who would have a last laugh. Seeing Huan Yao's ranking rising, Wang Chong and the others couldn't help but worry. The higher he rose, the more danger Lin Feng was in. 15. In the end, Huan Yao's ranking stopped at the 15th place. Everyone's gaze fell on Lin Feng. At this moment, Lin Feng's ranking had already been pulled ahead by 17 places. In other words, it was 17 billion Tianmu coins. 15th place. Looking at Huan Yao's result, Lin Feng's lips curled up. Junior brother, junior brother, Wang Chong and the others called out worriedly. When Lin Feng heard their words, warmth flowed through his heart. Don't worry. Lin Feng smiled and stood up. His expression was still as calm as ever. Lin Feng walked away calmly. His back carried a calming aura. That was confidence. Yesterday was Xiao Xiao's first time writing a chapter. After writing for so long, she caught a cold, but it wasn't too serious. Writing block? No, Xiao Xiao doesn't have the habit of writing blocks. She knows how and what to write for every chapter. In the past, she would have been able to fill an entire chapter with water, but no matter how she wrote yesterday, she wasn't satisfied. She even deleted 2,000 words. To be honest, my expectations for myself are much higher than before. After all, this is my job now, and I have to be worthy of this job. I have to write a better and more satisfying story. I have to write something that everyone likes. That's Xiao Xiao's goal. P.S. All this chatter doesn't count towards the main text. Xiao Xiao will continue writing, to be continued. If you like this work, you are welcome to come a Chidian. Come to vote for me. Your support is my biggest motivation. Chapter 135. The pitch-black passage was silent and oppressive. It was completely silent. It was as if this place was a completely different world from the Sky Martial continent. This is my only chance. Walking in the thin passage, Lin Feng's expression was calm. Coming here for the second time, he naturally wouldn't be nervous. Although the surrounding pressure was heavy and the ferocious appearance of the golden armored T-Rex appeared in his mind from time to time, it was like a bubble. Compared to the real Dragon Spine Road, it was a far cry. This was just a process for the warrior to adapt. Very quickly, the darkness disappeared, and a bright path appeared in front of him. I'm here again. Looking at the real Dragon Spine Road, Lin Feng's eyes lit up. The aura that assaulted his face was filled with an extremely strong pressure, far stronger than the pitch-black passage just now. His eyes looked at the uneven ground, which was filled with huge dragon scales. Lin Feng clearly knew that this was the most important part of the spine of the golden armored T-Rex, created according to a secret technique. The feeling was very different. The second time I walk, because I'm used to it, I'll improve compared to the first time. Lin Feng nodded. Ever since I entered the training grounds, I've been cultivating soul mystery for the past 12 days, and my soul power has increased a lot. Lin Feng's eyes suddenly lit up, just like the 33 layers of heaven. The further I go, the higher the points of the Dragon Spine Road. The stronger my soul power and temperament, the further I'll be able to walk. Step! Lin Feng's right foot suddenly stepped in, and Lin Feng's head shook violently. His body trembled, and a familiar feeling came from all directions. In his mind, the image of the golden armored T-Rex was incomparably clear and ferocious. Scram! Lin Feng clenched his teeth and roared. His mind was focused and unwavering, and the image of the golden armored T-Rex formed by the dragon's might dissipated. In an instant, Lin Feng stepped forward and moved forward. His body seemed to be carrying a heavy burden, and with every step, the terrifying force became stronger. It was as if 1,000 caddies of weight was pressing down on him, but Lin Feng didn't waver at all. 6 sections, 7 sections, 8 sections. The deeper he went, the stronger the draconic might became. The image of the golden armored Tyrannosaurus Rex in his mind became clearer. With the illusion and pressure acting on him at the same time, Lin Feng could no longer drive away the illusion in his mind. No matter how the golden armored Tyrannosaurus Rex roared, there was only one thing he could do: fortify his mind. Lin Feng's state of mind was incomparably firm. The effects of secrets of the soul were fully displayed. Hold on, Lin Feng said to himself. The terrifying draconic might roared crazily. His body was slowly being modified by the draconic might, and his potential was constantly being stimulated. Where there is loss, there is gain. The 9th verse. Chapter 10. Last time, Lin Feng had already lost consciousness here. But now, even though he bit his lips until they bled, Lin Feng was still able to persevere. His resolute mind resisted the golden armor Tyrannosaurus Rex's draconic might. His body bore an extremely heavy burden as he strode forward with heavy steps. Chapter 11. Lin Feng's expression changed drastically. He felt as though he couldn't breathe. His limbs started to become numb, his movements slowed, and his body trembled violently. Chapter 12. The blood vessels in his body started to condense and explode. His entire body was blood red. He was nearing his limit. Lin Feng only felt his vision blur. The golden armor Tyrannosaurus Rex in his mind seemed to want to devour him. But I haven't reached my limit yet. Lin Feng clenched his teeth. His eyes flashed with incomparable determination. He definitely couldn't fall. Chapter 13. The illusory world, the light screen's stairway to heaven. Everyone stared with their eyes wide open. They held their breaths as they watched Lin Feng's ranking rise continuously. From 32nd, it slowly rose to 30th, and then to 27th, 23rd. Is it about to end? Lin Feng only felt that his consciousness was dissipating. After entering the 13th verse, it was as though he had reached a turning point. The pressure suddenly multiplied. The golden armor Tyrannosaurus Rex's draconic aura was like a terrifying ancient dragon. Its ferocious face and thick dragon stench assaulted his face, swallowing him up. His soul power seemed to be floating in the air as it was instantly washed away. No, I can't accept this. Lin Feng's eyes were as red as blood. He was incomparably stubborn. His entire body's weight seemed to be concentrated in his mind. At this moment, he couldn't feel anything. All of his soul power was concentrated in one point, desperately converging, resisting the draconic aura of the golden armor Tyrannosaurus Rex. Even though he knew that he couldn't win, Lin Feng still refused to give up. He wouldn't retreat, even half a step. Lin Feng was very persistent. No, it should be said that he was extremely stubborn, even though he knew that it was impossible, but he still had to do it. Bang! His mind seemed to explode. His body shook violently. Suddenly, Lin Feng felt that all of the pressure was completely released. There was no more pain, no more pressure. The golden armor Tyrannosaurus Rex seemed to have disappeared without a trace, and he was in a chaotic space. Where is this? Lin Feng was greatly shocked. In front of him was an incomparably bright spot of light. It flickered with a dazzling light, making it impossible to look directly at it. What a familiar power. Lin Feng felt the light and suddenly realized, this is soul power. But if this is soul power, then what is this spot of light? Lin Feng was stunned. It was as if it was the first time he saw the purple flame, and he couldn't react. Indeed, this had already exceeded the scope of his imagination. But there was no time for him to hesitate. In an instant, Lin Feng felt the world spinning. Everything in front of him seemed to be much brighter. The uneven dragon-scale ground returned his eyes. Pressure from all directions gathered, binding him. But there was no longer the feeling of reaching the limit like before. My soul power. Lin Feng was greatly shocked. Lin Feng's eyes suddenly lit up, as if he had regained his strength. Lin Feng took a step forward and once again strode forward. On the light screen on the stairway to heaven, it was bustling. 19, 18, 17. Seeing Lin Feng's rankings soar, everyone was counting excitedly. Among them, Wang Chong and the others were shouting the loudest. They thought that Lin Feng was in danger because Huan Yao's points suddenly increased from 20th to 15th. But they didn't expect Lin Feng to hide his strength even more deeply. From 32nd place, he kept rising without stopping. Rise, rise, rise without stop. Until now, there was no sign of him stopping. 15th. The shocking shout almost broke through the air. Even Han, Xiling revealed a rare smile. Regardless of what Lin Feng's final result was, at the very least, he had pushed Huan Yao back to the 16th place and had the initiative. 14, 13. After struggling to reach 13th place, Lin Feng's name finally stopped rising. The final result was 13th place. In an instant, the hall was in an uproar. This result could be called a miracle. In just an instant, Lin Feng's ranking rose by 19. This was simply inconceivable. Huan Yao was like a pitiful accompaniment to the miracle that was Lin Feng. "Haha, this lad has indeed hidden his strength," Wang Chong said happily. No wonder Junior De was so confident. He had already expected it. Lala chuckled. "Haha, I really want to see Huan Yao's expression now." Wang Chong laughed heartily. "It will definitely be interesting," Han Tai said. As they spoke, everyone laughed heartily. Seeing Lin Feng's hard work, the faces of the crowd in the spear arena glowed. In the tempering pool, "You want to win against me? Dream on." Huan Yao's eyes gleamed coldly as he entered the pool. At this moment, his face was filled with determination and determination. In order to win the bet with Lin Feng, he was willing to give up everything. Huan Yao was going all out. Lin Feng slowly woke up. The place he was in seemed to be an apparatus similar to the tempering pool. Hua! Leaping up, Lin Feng landed on the ground. There was no one around him. Lin Feng looked at his surroundings in astonishment. The air was much fresher and his vision was brighter. He had never felt so clear before. Wherever there was a sound, wherever there was a slight beat, he could feel it. Yes, it wasn't hearing but feeling. Inexplicably, a huge map appeared in his mind. It spread out like a radar, and everything was reflected in his mind in an instant. Mind's eye. Lin Feng was taken aback. Then he shook his head. Compared to the mind's eye, this was clearer and more precise. It was as though it was right beside him, and he could touch it with his hands. It felt as though he could control everything. Could it be an increase in the level of my soul energy? Lin Feng thought. Let's give it a try. Suddenly, focusing his mind, Lin Feng felt as though he saw a group of light spots converging on the light spot he saw just now. Bright and dazzling. Suddenly, there was an intense explosion. His eyes lit up with a dazzling light. Terrifying soul energy shot out like a light arrow. The apparatus in front of him seemed to have been struck by lightning. Pa! Pa! It shattered violently. The metal materials scattered on the ground as though it was destroyed by a terrifying force. Lin Feng was extremely shocked. So powerful. Lin Feng was in disbelief. When did I have such terrifying power? Could it be that my soul power underwent a change on the Dragon Spine Road just now? Lin Feng pondered for a moment before his eyes suddenly lit up. God, I understand now. Could this be the direct soul attack that Father mentioned? One of the heavenly soul masters, psychic. At this moment, the light screen on the stairway to heaven changed again. Just when everyone thought that Lin Feng would win this bet, the rankings changed again. No, it can't be. How is this possible? Wang Chong and the others were shocked. Just like the other students, they were dumbfounded. Huan Yao's ranking rose again. 14, 13. Every dog has its day. Huan Yao squeezed Lin Feng down again. His meteoric rise did not stop there. He still managed to climb up another rank with great difficulty. Finally, he stopped at the 12th rank. The crowd was in an uproar. Second update, my schedule has been a little irregular recently. Please forgive me. Xiao Xiao has been working very hard. No matter what, I can't miss 3 updates a day. I owe yesterday's update. I have to accompany my daughter to the children's park tomorrow. I probably won't be able to return this update until next Monday. At Work Hard, Xiao Xiao will continue writing. There's a 3rd update tonight. If you like this work, you are welcome to come to Chidian. Come to vote for me. Your support is my biggest motivation. Chapter 136. The 33rd Heaven. At this time, it was already late at night. The majestic and flat tower exuded an ancient bronze glow. This incomparably ancient existence did not show any signs of aging. At the entrance, a young man stood indifferently. He was like an unsheathed, sharp sword, revealing its sharpness. I'm here again. Lin Feng looked at the majestic building in front of him and smiled. 3 days, an entire 3 days. In order to completely grasp the feeling in his mind, he had no choice but to waste 3 chances to enter the 33rd heaven. But, compared to the improvement of his strength, the waste was worth it. A sharp cold light flashed in his eyes. Lin Feng's mouth slightly raised, and he immediately stepped in. His footsteps were relaxed. Lin Feng was incomparably confident. The first level. Let's practice the 4th level of the Firmament spear art. Lin Feng had a faint smile on his face. This time, he did not want to waste any more time. In an instant, 10 blade-hell golden pigs rushed over with bloodshot eyes. Bang, bang. The sound of iron hooves was deafening, but in Lin Feng's eyes, that majestic and valiant body was so weak that he could easily deal with it the first time he entered. The 4th level of the 10 styles is divided into 3 styles. The first style is the Eagle Peck style, which combines the 3 styles into one. Lin Feng shook the Ice Soul Soaring Dragon Spear in his hand, creating layers of spear flowers. Instantly, his eyes were as sharp as an eagle's. Whoosh! The moment he made his move, it was like a bolt of lightning. A huge golden-winged crowned eagle suddenly appeared in the air, roaring towards the sky, full of domineering aura. In an instant, one of the blade-hell golden pigs was struck by lightning. The huge force pierced through, and the terrifying power in an instant exploded. The Ice Soul Soaring Dragon Spear shook violently. Lin Feng's right arm fiercely exerted force, and in an instant, flesh and blood splattered everywhere. The Pang Rant's force spread in all directions, and even the blade-hell golden pigs were all injured. Lin Feng's eyes widened. He had actually displayed the essence of the first style of the Eagle Peck style. How many days has it been? Lin Feng couldn't believe it. Back then, he had spent a tremendous amount of effort to comprehend the 3rd level of the Scarlet Snake Flame Dance. But now, the speed of his comprehension was simply unreasonable. Chi! Spear shadows flashed as Lin Feng shuttled through the beast horde. The Ice Soul Soaring Dragon Spear in his hand seemed to have turned into a golden-winged crowned eagle. Its sharp, electric beak pecked down, leaving a trail of corpses. In the blink of an eye, the 10 blade-hell golden skin pigs were all dead. Complete comprehension. It's so smooth. Lin Feng's eyes sparkled. Everything I didn't understand before is now completely understood. It's so strange. Could it be another epiphany? Lin Feng smiled. Beside his ears, that familiar voice suddenly sounded, and Lin Feng instantly threw his doubts to the back of his mind. The 2nd heaven had begun. The 100-blade-hell golden-skinned pigs were as dense as locusts. The earth-shattering howls and roars resounded, as if the mountains were collapsing and the earth was splitting. Lin Feng, holding the Ice Soul Soaring Dragon Spear, was as small as an ant. However, strength, weight, and numbers had nothing to do with each other. Since I've perfectly comprehended the Eagle Peck stance, let's practice the 2nd move, the diving stance. Lin Feng nodded. With that thought in mind, Lin Feng instantly transformed into a flowing cloud and rushed into the beast horde. Like a tiger entering a flock of sheep, he was invincible. Chi! Shrill cries rang out continuously. Lin Feng sped forward with his spear, and the golden-winged crowned eagle spread its wings and soared high in the air. Wherever it passed, the blade-hell golden-skinned pigs would die tragically. Lin Feng's killing speed was like the autumn wind sweeping away the fallen leaves. Every time a fierce light flashed, it took away more than one corpse. Heavens! I can actually vaguely feel the essence of the diving stance. Lin Feng did not know what expression to make. If this was the 1st level of the heavenly spear art, it would be normal for him to comprehend it so quickly. However, this was the 4th level. Back then, he had spent so much time and effort. Not to mention grasping the essence, it was already extremely difficult for him to even perform it once. Not to mention other things, just the last move of the 3rd level the Scarlet Snake flaming dance, took him 2 months to comprehend. But now it was too strange. No matter what, it's a good thing. Lin Feng immediately felt relieved and smiled indifferently. Since he could not figure out, he would not think about it for now. Instead of thinking about these meaningless things, he might as well concentrate on the spear art and slowly sublimate the vague feeling of the diving stance. He would completely master it. Soon, Lin Feng was immersed in comprehending the spear moves. 100 blade hell golden skin pigs were not enough to kill. After killing all of them, Lin Feng did not even pant. It was too easy. In the 3rd level, the mere 10 man-devouring mad raccoons were like filling the gaps between his teeth. In the blink of an eye, they became 10 corpses. How could the improvement of 3 days be a joke? The 4th level begin. The deep voice sounded again. Lin Feng's eyes immediately lit up. 100 man-devouring mad raccoons should be enough for me to practice for a long time. The ice soul, soaring dragon spear in his hand, shook slightly. His body was already feeling slightly excited. The last time he was at the 4th level, it was extremely dangerous. How about this time? The overwhelming dark brown light appeared and covered the sky completely. However, Lin Feng's expression was very calm. He closed his eyes slightly and pointed the ice soul, soaring dragon spear in his hand. Suddenly, his fighting spirit erupted. Whoosh! Like an arrow piercing through the sky, Lin Feng rushed forward. The ice soul, soaring dragon spear, swept horizontally. Lin Feng's left foot tapped lightly, and his right foot stepped out. It was fast and accurate. Chi! 2 cold lights suddenly appeared. 3 man-devouring mad raccoons were instantly killed, and a few of them were seriously injured. Borrowing the attack, Lin Feng's footsteps did not stop for a moment. It was as if the attacks of the man-devouring mad raccoons had already entered his mind. The movement of his footsteps showed a wonderful rhythm. The ice soul, soaring dragon spear turned and swept, and the diving style was used again. Like an eagle diving down, explosive gunshots sounded. It was a massacre. Mind's eye. Was it necessary to deal with a mere man-devouring mad raccoon? With the perfect level movement technique, killing a man-devouring mad raccoon was as easy as killing a chicken. The domineering spear intent displayed the attack power of the firmament spear art incisively and vividly. Needless to say, his current speed was not any slower than a man-devouring mad raccoon. It was incomparably easy. The current man-devouring mad raccoon was just a practice target. Time slowly passed, and the battle of the 4th level was nearing its end. It's about time. I have grasped the essence of the diving style. The ice soul, soaring dragon spear in his hand, slashed again, and 2 more man-devouring mad raccoons died. Lin Feng's mouth indifferently curved into a smile. I didn't think that I would be able to comprehend the diving style so quickly. What an unexpected gain. Although I'm still unable to fully utilize 5 times of my strength is not too far off. With a carefree smile, Lin Feng used another gallop pierce, and the remaining man-devouring mad raccoons were all cleanly dealt with. Putting away his spear, Lin Feng could not help but let out a long breath. My stamina still has a lot left. My soul power is also not used up. It was a perfect victory. Lin Feng smiled slightly. With the perfect level movement technique and the speed that was not inferior to the man-devouring mad raccoons, he was no longer as battered and exhausted as he was at the beginning. The improvement of his strength was indeed very obvious. Wait, Lin Feng suddenly froze, as if he thought of something. Soul power? Yes, it was soul power. Lin Feng's eyes suddenly lit up, and his expression suddenly changed. How can there be such a coincidence to be able to easily comprehend the spear arts in such a short time? It must be because of the mutation of my soul power on the Dragon Spine Road. With his heart thumping wildly, Lin Feng finally found the reason. Originally, I had already reached my limit at the 13th section of the Dragon Spine Road. Lin Feng gradually recalled. All the changes were after he inexplicably saw the soul power light spot. He had actually crossed the 15th section of the Dragon Spine Road. One must know that after the 10th section of the Dragon Spine Road, the gap between each section was extremely huge, extremely shocking. Most likely, Lin Feng nodded. There must be a reason for this abnormality. The 5th layer of heaven. Lin Feng looked indifferently at the people of light that were gradually gathering in front of him, and a smile hung on the corner of his mouth. At first, he thought that this was an extremely difficult obstacle, but he did not expect that it would actually be such a generous reward. It was all thanks to senior sister Ziling's reminder. Otherwise, he did not know how much time he would have to waste here. Who would have thought that passing this obstacle would actually be so easy? Lin Feng shook his head. His left foot suddenly stepped forward, and the ice soul soaring dragon spear trembled slightly, and Lin Feng instantly turned into a shooting star. At this moment, the person of light had yet to form, but a huge force had already completely erupted through the soaring dragon spear. Spear technique, dive style. Boom! The person of light instantly turned into countless light spots and disappeared into the void. Lin Feng's eyes were incomparably bright. Illusory world, light screen stairway to heaven. Ha! Ha ha! A sharp and unpleasant voice resounded, causing people to frown in shock. Huan Yao stepped forward, and the smile on his ugly face was even uglier than when he was crying. His cracked bark-like skin made people feel extremely disgusted. Although the soul mutation gave him incomparably powerful strength and talent, at the same time, it also caused him to lose a lot. Did you think that I wouldn't bet with you if I wasn't confident, Lin Feng? Huan Yao was extremely proud. I knew that you would play dirty 14th place. Don't think that I'm as stupid as Black Bear. You schemed against me, but you didn't know that I'm also scheming against you. Ha ha. Huan Yao placed his hands on his hips, like a victorious general. Although he was only 2 places away from Lin Feng in the final ranking, even if it was just 1 place, it was still very satisfying. It was like giving Lin Feng a hard slap, and it was very satisfying. You're still far from being able to fight with me. Huan Yao's eyes flashed sharply, and he turned to leave. Suddenly, screams rang out all around. Huan Yao's heart skipped a beat, and he vaguely felt an ominous premonition. He hurriedly turned his head and looked at the light screen on the stairs to heaven. In an instant, Huan Yao's eyes widened, and his face turned ashen. 3rd update, looking for recommendation votes, looking for subscriptions .. to be continued. If you like this work, you are welcome to come to Chidian. Come to vote for me. Your support is my biggest motivation. Chapter 137. Light Screen Stairway to Heaven. Everyone's mouths were wide open as they gasped and stared with their eyes wide open. There was a new change in the rankings. 12. Lin Feng, 111, 13. Huan Yao, 66. It was just a change in the rankings, but it shocked everyone. It was a sudden reversal. Lin Feng, who was originally ranked 14th, had actually jumped up by 2 places, trampling Huan Yao beneath his feet once again. His name was so close to Huan Yao that it made Huan Yao lose all face. Even if it was just 1 rank, the difference was like heaven and earth. No, impossible. Huan Yao's face was pale as he staggered. He wanted to support himself on the table, but he touched nothing. His legs seemed to have lost their strength, and he fell to the ground. There was complete silence. Huan Yao lost. 6th layer of heaven. Lin Feng stood calmly on the spot, looking very relaxed. According to what Senior Sister Ziling said, the 6th layer of heaven, to a certain extent, might be more powerful than the 4th layer of heaven. Even simpler, the ground under his feet shook violently. Lin Feng looked into the distance with bright eyes and saw a terrifying pang ran descending like a nightmare. It was a rhinoceros-type demon beast. Its body was more than 400 meters long and 100 meters tall. Its gray horn emitted a cold light. Its body seemed to be wrapped in iron, giving people the feeling that it was indestructible, especially its 4 iron hooves. They were as thick as iron pillars. It was extremely terrifying. Intermediate giant beast lord. Ancient barbarian iron rhinoceros. It's actually this one. Lin Feng murmured. Ancient barbarian iron rhinoceros was a type of demon beast that specialized in defense. Its strong body seemed to have solidified like a 100% pure iron ore. In terms of speed, ancient barbarian iron rhinoceros was comparable to advanced giant beast lords. Among intermediate giant beast lords, ancient barbarian iron rhinoceros was definitely an overlord. But this time I had to face Lin Feng. As expected, it's a test of attack power. The ice soul soaring dragon spear in his hand shook as Lin Feng's eyes suddenly lit up. Although his strength could not be considered outstanding among the initial stage martial emperors, his FA gene technique was not the slightest bit inferior to others. My current strength is very close to the standard of a mid-level Emperor Wu, 160,000 gene. If I use my strongest diving style, coupled with 5 times the attack coefficient of a gun, my attack power, over 1,000,000. In an instant, Lin Feng moved. He was like an eagle that faced the sky and let out a long cry. In the air, the high-class Horde Lord golden-winged crowned eagle spread its wings and soared high, as though it had become one with Lin Feng. Instantly, Lin Feng flashed into the midst of the 10 ancient barbaric iron rhinos, and the Ice Soul's soaring dragon spear emitted a clear and crystalline cold light. The sharp sound of the air being torn apart caused the eyes of the golden-winged crowned eagle in the sky to emit a cold light. Domineering and overbearing, Lin Feng's body flashed past a few afterimages. His left leg inexplicably stepped out, bringing with it a peculiar rhythm. In an instant, an astonishing strength completely exploded. The strength in his leg was transmitted to his spine, and the strength in his waist increased little by little. The tip of the spear condensed all of the strength and shot out with a loud bang. Spear technique, diving style. Lin Feng's eyes were extremely bright. A huge strength of 1,000,000 gene. Bang! The earth violently exploded. Compared to the ancient barbaric iron rhinos, Lin Feng was as small as an ant. However, such a small existence was like a thin needle that deeply pierced into a huge balloon. In an instant, even the heavens and earth changed color. Screech! Screech! A mournful cry resounded through the sky. The ancient barbaric iron rhino's lower abdomen was completely pierced. Die! Lin Feng was like a sharp arrow that pierced through the ocean, breaking through layers of waves. Boundless strength was released in an instant, and the golden-winged crowned eagle in the sky seemed to be tearing the ancient barbaric iron rhino apart. A piece of fresh meat flew everywhere. Rumble, the huge body fell to the ground with a loud bang, and it was completely dead. What a powerful attack! Lin Feng held the Ice Soul soaring dragon spear and couldn't help but tighten his grip. Compared to the Scarlet Snake flaming dance that could unleash 4 times the strength, the diving style only increased it by 10%. However, this wasn't all. Its spear intent. Lin Feng's eyes were bright. The boundless and terrifying spear intent was more than a level higher than the Scarlet Snake flaming dance. The tragic death of the first ancient barbaric iron rhino instantly caused the remaining 9 ancient barbaric iron rhinos to become hysterical and furious. However, their huge bodies and miserable speed and agility caused the ancient barbaric iron rhino to be like a target in front of Lin Feng, and they couldn't escape at all. Once the defense that they relied on to survive collapsed, the ancient barbaric iron rhino was merely an ordinary magical beast. There was only one ending, death. Although he spent a lot of strength, Lin Feng still easily dealt with the 10 ancient barbaric iron rhinos. The 6th heaven, complete victory. Spear intent, perfect level body movement technique. As expected, Lin Feng nodded thoughtfully. The reward of the 5th heaven is indeed important. Without the reward of the 5th heaven, there would be no breakthrough this time. He wouldn't be able to pass the 6th heaven. On the light screen stairway to heaven. This is fake, impossible. Huan Yao roared hysterically. How could a mere newbie's strength increase so quickly? Huan Yao's voice was sharp and filled with anger, and his eyes were filled with murderous intent. Indeed, generally speaking, when a newbie entered the training base, they would increase their strength a little faster in the first few days. However, after it stabilized, no matter how high their potential was or how good their talent was, they would only increase slowly. For someone like Lin Feng, it was simply unimaginable. Instantly, everyone started discussing. At this moment, the light screen stairway to heaven changed again. Hua. Lin Feng's ranking suddenly increased by 1, pushing He Xiong, who was originally ranked 11th, down to 12th. What? He Xiong stood up with a bang, and his expression was extremely ugly. However, before he could stabilize himself, whoosh, Lin Feng actually rushed into the top 10, pushing Han Xiling, who was originally ranked 10th, to the back. Han Xiling's eyes widened, and she didn't know what expression to show. However, this was not the end. Under everyone's shocked expression, Lin Feng actually rose by 2 more places in a row and finally stopped at 8th place. In the hall, everyone was stunned. There was silence. The 7th heaven began. A familiar voice sounded in his ears, and Lin Feng's slightly tired body instantly recovered to normal. According to what Senior Sister Ziling said, in order to pass the 7th level of heaven, both the attack power and the level of body movement are indispensable. Lin Feng looked at the sharp, air-piercing sound in the distance, his eyes shining with coldness. Especially the latter, mid-level giant beast lord, 8-clawed Emperor Fox. This was an extremely famous name. Emperor, it was indeed the emperor of the mid-level giant beast lord. Rays of golden light flashed, and only its shadow could be seen, but not its body. The 8-clawed Emperor Fox had an extremely shocking 8 claws, and its speed was second to none among the mid-level giant beast lords, especially its teleportation and dodging in a small area. Coupled with its indestructible sharp claws, there were few opponents among the mid-level giant beast lords. One 8-clawed Emperor Fox was enough to kill all 10 of the ancient barbarian iron rhinos in the 6th heaven. This was the strength of the 8-clawed Emperor Fox. And now, Lin Feng had to face a total of 10 8-clawed Emperor Foxes. Compared to the 6th heaven, the difficulty was more than 10 times higher. But Lin Feng had no way out. He could only fight. Phew. Lin Feng let out a deep breath and held the Ice Soul Soaring Dragon spear tightly. In terms of speed, I'm too inferior to the 8-clawed Emperor Fox. It's hard to use the perfect level body movement technique by halves. Lin Feng's mind was filled with thoughts, and he kept thinking about how to deal with the situation in front of him. There's only one way. His strength exploded, and Lin Feng he closed his eyes. Immediately, a complete picture appeared. Lin Feng sensed his surroundings, and it completely replaced the function of his eyes. The 10 8-clawed Emperor Foxes were all in his mind, dodging, shifting, and even their appearance in sharp claws. Everything was clear. The strengthened version of mind's eye. Why? Lin Feng moved. He didn't retreat, but instead moved forward. He didn't dodge at all, and directly rushed into the group of 10 8-clawed Emperor Foxes without hesitation. The more he dodged, the more he would die. Let's end this quickly. Lin Feng's strength exploded, and he stepped forward. In front of him, the first 8-clawed Emperor Fox screamed, and its sharp claws broke through the wind, but Lin Feng seemed to have already known the direction of its attack. Lin Feng withdrew his feint, and his right foot stepped on the ground, and the Ice Soul Soaring Dragon spear streaked across like a meteor. Spear moved dive style. Chi. In the air, the golden-winged crown eagle streaked across, and the 8-clawed Emperor Fox was directly split into 2. The 8-clawed Emperor Fox behind it was greatly surprised, and it screamed continuously. However, Lin Feng's body spun like a top. The perfect stage body art completely exploded. Boom! The Ice Soul Soaring Dragon spear showed its power. The second one. Lin Feng's expression turned serious. At this moment, The remaining eight-clawed emperor foxes surrounded Lin Feng, and their petite bodies completely took advantage of the encirclement. But Lin Feng could deeply feel every inch of their position and every attack. Through the changes in the airflow, and through the transmission of the eight-clawed emperor fox's power, the strengthened version of mine's, I was ridiculously powerful. Even so, the gap was still quite obvious. After all, you couldn't dodge an attack just because you knew where it was going to attack. The eight-clawed emperor fox's speed far surpassed Lin Feng's. Xiao! Xiao! Two sharp claws pierced out consecutively, aiming straight for Lin Feng's neck. There was no way to dodge. But suddenly, the two eight-clawed emperor foxes were incomparably shocked, and an invisible force inexplicably appeared, blocking the sharp claws. As for Lin Feng, the ice soul soaring dragon spear in his hand pierced out like lightning, and flowing light flickered. Instantly, another two eight-clawed emperor foxes were killed. The application of soul power. One head, and then another. No matter how fast and shocking the eight-clawed emperor fox's attacks were, they couldn't compare to Lin Feng's abnormal soul power. The strengthened version of mine's I coupled with the application of soul power, Lin Feng, like a hot knife through butter. The battle was quickly announced to be over. Huff, huff, Lin Feng breathed heavily, and his face was deathly pale. In less than half an instance's time, his soul power was completely exhausted, but he didn't expect that. If it wasn't for the mutation of my soul power in the Dragon Spine Road, and the substantial increase in my soul power, I'm afraid. Lin Feng laughed bitterly. The amount of soul power used to block a beginner-level giant beast and a middle-level giant beast was completely different. Moreover, the eight-clawed emperor fox's attacks were too fast and too frequent. Fortunately, I made the first move and killed two eight-clawed emperor foxes at the beginning. Otherwise, when they surrounded me, the one who lost would be me. Lin Feng secretly felt lucky and nodded. This time, it's all thanks to senior sister Ziling's reminder. I didn't expect to be able to pass the 7th layer of heaven. I wonder what my ranking is now. Lin Feng smiled as if relieved of a heavy burden. Chapter 138. Light Screen's Stairway to Heaven. It's jumping again. One of the students shouted in shock. Indeed, Lin Feng's rank had changed to 7th. Looking at the huge light screen, the students were completely numb. Another monster. It was unknown who said this sentence. Before they finished speaking, Lin Feng's rank had risen by 1/6. F***CK. A loud scolding was heard. Without thinking, it was the person who was originally 6th. Entering the top 10, every rank was extremely important. For example, first place would be rewarded with 2,000 light points. Second place would be rewarded with 1,600 light points. Third place would be rewarded with 1,200 light points. The further one went, the bigger the gap. At 4th place, it was already less than 1,000 light points. At this moment, Lin Feng's rank had moved again. Qi Bao, who was originally 5th, had an ashen face. His face twitched violently, and his eyes were filled with ruthlessness. F***CK. Qi Bao slammed the table and stood up, roaring in anger. As one of the 12 high-level Emperor Wu, Qi Bao's network and information network were quite fast. Others might not know, but he knew that the difference between 5th and 6th place was not only in time points. The biggest difference was the material rewards. Only the top 5 would have material rewards. Fake. This is definitely fake. Huan Yao's eyes were bloodshot. At this moment, there was a difference of 8 ranks between him and Lin Feng. In other words, that was 8 billion Tianmu coins. It was an extremely shocking number. No. Huan Yao roared, his face distorted. The bets he had placed in the illusory ball were all he had. There's definitely something wrong. Qi Bao shouted angrily. Yes. Huan Yao gritted his teeth and said sharply, this bastard must have found some secret to increase his points. Otherwise, How could he suddenly jump from 32nd place to 5th place in a few hours? Don't you all think so? Huan Yao looked at everyone. His anxious expression seemed to be asking for their approval. The surrounding people were also discussing spiritedly. They couldn't help but feel suspicious. After all, Lin Feng's speed of improvement, it was indeed too fast. A newcomer who had been in the training base for less than half a month had actually risen from 111th place to 5th place? What a joke. Come, let's go and get to the bottom of this. Crimson Leopard's face was livid as he shouted furiously. Right at this moment, a faint laughter rang out, causing everyone to focus their attention. Little Sword, who was originally sitting in a dull and bored manner, had his hand on his chin as he spoke in an indifferent manner. Aren't all of you ashamed? Do you have the nerve to call yourselves members of the hunt? His voice was filled with ridicule, but no one dared to utter a word. In the training base, Little Sword's reputation was second only to Fong Ning's. He was known as the genius favored by God, and he had the strength to match it. Second place on the scoreboard was not a joke. Red Leopard, to think that you are a high-level Emperor Wu. Don't you know the rules? Little Jin glanced at Qi Bao, whose face was slightly red, before looking at Huan Yao, whose face was distorted. He frowned slightly and slowly shook his head. His eyes seemed to be saying, if you can't afford to lose, then don't gamble. Well said. A clear and loud voice rang out. Zheng Ren was immediately startled when he saw a white-clothed young man walking over from a short distance away with a sunny smile on his face. No one saw how he appeared. He was like a cloud, giving off an illusory feeling. He seemed to be right in front of them, and they could touch him if they stretched out their hands. However, he seemed to be far away, hazy. Just like his smile, it seemed friendly, but there was a faint pride hidden deep within it. He was very unfamiliar. However, no one dared underestimate this young man in white, because his aura and pressure were really too terrifying. What a rare guest. Little Sword suddenly stood up and smiled as he spat out two words that shocked everyone. Fong Ning. Boom. It was like a thunderclap. Everyone was greatly shocked as they stared blankly at the young man in white. Fong Ning was too mysterious and too low-key. Very few people had seen his true face. However, this name was deeply imprinted in everyone's hearts. He was high up and would always be at the top of the scoreboard, just like an emperor. Unreachable. He was the true owner of the training base, Emperor. The 8th layer of heaven, begin. The voice was deep and steady as usual, but Lin Feng's heart could not calm down. He had barely passed the 7th layer of heaven and had almost exhausted his soul power. What about the 8th layer of heaven that was definitely several times more difficult? I'll take it one step at a time. Lin Feng nodded. He was already very satisfied to pass the 7th layer of heaven. In an instant, the sound of thunder shook. The earth shook violently, as if it was about to split open. Looking at the giant existence that was 1,000 meters tall and covered the sky, Lin Feng's face showed a deep, bitter smile. Dark brown scales were densely covered, as if it was a monster that had just awakened from a deep sleep. Its body was like a giant mountain. Its back was full of jagged spikes, and its limbs were short and thick. However, its neck was full of demonic patterns, and it was roaring crazily with its bloody mouth wide open. High-level giant beast leader, steel-backed earth dragon. At the same time, it had another identity, Earth Spirit Beast. Are you kidding me? Lin Feng shook his head helplessly. Since returning from the mysterious sea of fire, Lin Feng had carefully studied all types of spirit beasts, especially the giant beast leader level, which he could clearly recognize. After all, if he did not even know the information of a magical beast, for a warrior, it was quite a disadvantage. Earth spirit beasts were originally magical beasts with extremely high defense, plus the natural tyrannical physique of dragons. The steel-backed earth dragon's defense was definitely at the top among the high-level giant beast leaders. Could he beat it? Maybe if I attack its vital points, there's still a glimmer of hope. Lin Feng secretly thought. Talking about defeat before fighting was definitely not his style. Even if it was a certain death situation, he would not give up. Fight! His eyes flashed with a sharp light, and his mind sensed the steel-backed earth dragon. Lin Feng's fighting spirit was released, and his body gradually became excited. Bang, bang! The steel-backed earth dragon's steps were huge, and its terrifying body almost reached in front of Lin Feng in the blink of an eye. So fast, Lin Feng's face instantly changed. The steel-backed earth dragon's speed far exceeded his expectations. I almost forgot. Even if it is slow, the steel-backed earth dragon is still a high-level giant beast leader. His mind's eye instantly sensed, however, chi. A sharp sound broke through the air. The steel-backed earth dragon's attack speed was shockingly fast. Its right claw suddenly swung forward, and Lin Feng could only see a flash of light in front of his eyes. He was simply unable to dodge in time. It completely exceeded his own reaction speed. Compared to the 8-clawed Emperor Fox's attack speed, it was several times faster. But it's not that easy. Instantly, Lin Feng's soul power was released. Although it only stopped the steel-backed earth dragon for a moment, it was enough. Whoosh! Lin Feng took a step back, just in time to dodge. Bang! It was as if a huge hole was pierced through the ground. Lin Feng only felt his heart jump. With this kind of attack power, not to mention a direct hit, even a slight graze was no joke. It's really scary. Lin Feng was overwhelmed with shock. However, the steel-backed earth dragon's attack had just begun. In a split second, those sharp claws were like two huge sickles smashing down. The extremely fast speed produced an intense, explosive sound, causing one's eardrums to vibrate. Among the beasts, dragons were the most powerful existence. Even if it was just an earth dragon, it still possessed a power that could not be ignored. Lin Feng was battered and exhausted. If not for his soul power, he would have already lost his life under the claws of the steel-backed earth dragon. His right hand was still tightly holding the ice soul soaring dragon spear. Lin Feng did not attack even once. It was not that he did not have a chance, but it was not the best chance. Whoosh whoosh. Lin Feng kept jumping and dodging, but the steel-backed earth dragon pursued him closely. A strong smell of beast assaulted his face. That terrifying, bloody mouth seemed to want to swallow Lin Feng, but every time, it missed by a little bit, allowing Lin Feng to escape. You chase, I chase. Lin Feng patiently waited for an opportunity. Finally, as if it was enraged by Lin Feng, or as if it was bored of playing, the steel-backed earth dragon suddenly bit at Lin Feng. Its huge body violently pounced, bringing with it a violent gust of wind that completely enveloped the surrounding area. In his mind, Lin Feng immediately sensed the steel-backed earth dragon's incomparably terrifying attack speed. Extremely dangerous, but danger was also accompanied by chance. Lin Feng's eyes shone brightly. He had been waiting for this moment for a long time. His soul power condensed, causing the steel-backed earth dragon's movements to slow down. Lin Feng strangely turned his body sideways. His footwork was incomparably strange, as if he had completely calculated the steel-backed earth dragon's movements. In an instant, Lin Feng swung the ice soul soaring dragon spear in his hand. In the air, the golden-winged crown eagle let out an awe-inspiring cry, flashing with a cold light. Die! The ice soul soaring dragon spear turned into a ray of light, instantly piercing towards the steel-backed earth dragon's defenseless eyes. The corner of Lin Feng's mouth drew a faint arc. It looked like it was about to pierce through, but at this moment, a sudden change occurred. Suddenly, a powerful energy fluctuation surged from the steel-backed earth dragon's body. Unexpectedly, a set of earthen yellow armor appeared out of nowhere, covering it in layers. In the blink of an eye, it had already tightly wrapped its body, not leaving even the slightest gap. This appearance, how familiar was it? Earth-type armor. Lin Feng's expression changed greatly. That day, when he was in the rocket squad, he had hunted that earth spirit beast, the profound hornhill lizard. It was almost exactly the same. However, compared to the profound horned hill lizard, the color of the steel-backed earth dragon's earth-type armor was deeper and more solid. Clearly, its defensive power was even more frightening. Bang! The ice soul, soaring dragon spear struck the earthen yellow armor. A huge rebounding force bounced onto Lin Feng's body. Instantly, his chest heaved up and down. Lin Feng hurriedly retreated backwards. The steel-backed earth dragon was completely unscathed. With this layer of incomparably tough earth-type armor, the steel-backed earth dragon had no flaws at all. Roar, roar! The steel-backed earth dragon roared fiercely, as if it was enraged. Before Lin Feng had even landed on the ground, the steel-backed earth dragon had already erupted. With a ferocious expression, it actually spat out a gigantic earthen yellow ball of light from its mouth, which flew rapidly towards Lin Feng. Oh no! Lin Feng's expression changed greatly. Clearly, this was an existence similar to his fireball. However, it was 1,000 times, 10,000 times bigger than his own small fireball. Tyrannical energy gathered within, possessing the power to annihilate everything. Frightening speed, coupled with an extremely large attack range. He simply had no way to avoid it. Second update, seeking recommendations, seeking subscriptions at _@PS. There's a third update at midnight. If you like this work, you are welcome to come to Chidian. Come to vote for me. Your support is my greatest motivation. Chapter 139. Am I going to lose? Lin Feng suddenly had this thought. Looking at the huge khaki-colored ball of light heading towards him, there was nothing he could do. It was as if he was waiting for death. He was unwilling to accept this. The terrifying ball of light emitted an energy that could annihilate everything, causing Lin Feng's mind to be stretched to the extreme in an instant. At this moment, Lin Feng could clearly feel that his blood vessels seemed to have solidified, and his body seemed to have become transparent. In a split second, Lin Feng saw the strange light spot in his mind. Yes, there's still this. Lin Feng's eyes suddenly lit up. The extreme pressure of the environment forced out the strongest power. At this moment, Lin Feng only felt that his mind was completely focused. It was as if the strange light spot had gathered all of his soul power from all directions. His eyes instantly lit up. Wah! Lin Feng's eyes were like the light spot that exploded. In a split second, his soul power transformed into a sharp arrow that shot towards the steel spine earth dragon at an extremely terrifying speed. However, at this moment, the khaki color ball of light was already falling like a meteor. Rumble, on the light screen stairway to heaven. Looks like your strength has improved again. Fong Ning smiled as he looked at the light screen. Little Sword shrugged, understanding that Fong Ning was referring to the extreme increase in his ranking. I didn't expect it either. With your strength, it seems like you can't kill the steel spine earth dragon, right? Fong Ning calmly drank a cup of wine, as if he was hinting at something. Maybe? Little Sword lazily propped up his chin. Fong Ning slightly turned his head, a pair of bright eyes as bright as the stars. He smiled calmly and said, "So, the selection competition will become interesting?" Little Sword also smiled. Suddenly, a light flashed in his eyes, and he pointed at the light screen. "What do you think?" In a split second, the hall was filled with gasps. Sitting beside Little Sword, Tulu Wan-er's face turned green, and her delicate nose wrinkled. Lin Feng had pushed Tulu Wan-er down and occupied the fourth place. "Have you seen him before?" Fong Ning casually asked. "Very similar to you." Little Sword glanced at Fong Ning and smirked. "Who knows, I might become your biggest competitor in the future." Fong Ning smiled, but did not answer. He continued to look at the light screen. At this moment, Huan Yao's expression had turned even uglier. His eyes were filled with intense hatred, and the dwarf's body was trembling nonstop. One had to know that every step Lin Feng took meant that he would lose an additional 1 billion Tianwu coins. At this moment, Huan Yao wished he could slap himself. For the sake of that meaningless face, he let himself fall into a bottomless abyss. But there was no medicine for regret. Inside the hall, everyone held their breaths. Dugu Feng even stood up, his pitch-black eyes emitting a ruthless gaze as he unconsciously clenched his fists. He didn't want to be squeezed out of the top 3 at the last moment. But what was supposed to happen would eventually happen. Whoosh, the light screen flickered, and in an instant, Lin Feng and Dugu Feng's positions were switched. At this moment, everyone opened their eyes wide and exclaimed in shock. 3rd place. To be able to be in the top 3, it was impossible for him to only have potential and not strength. He must have both. At this moment, in everyone's hearts for the first time, they truly acknowledged Lin Feng's strength. He really came with great momentum. I didn't expect him to catch up so quickly. Little Sword exclaimed and shook his head in surprise. Even though his evaluation of Lin Feng was extremely high, he still underestimated him. I don't know what will happen in the future, but now. Fang Ning looked at Little Sword and smiled. He has already become your competitor. Little Sword smiled faintly. On the other side, Dugu Feng's face turned purple. For the past month, he had been wearing the hat of Eternal Second, and he had had enough of it. But he didn't expect that on the last day he would be surpassed by 2 people consecutively, forcefully pushing him to the awkward position of 4th place. They were merely 2 low-level martial emperors, yet they gave him 2 ruthless slaps on the left and right. He, Dugu Feng, was the strongest among the 12 high-level Emperor Wu in the training base, and he was the closest to becoming a titled martial god. It was simply a complete disgrace. Don't be happy too early. Dugu Feng's right hand crushed the glass with a pa sound, and his eyes shone with a cold light. At the end of the month, I will let you all know who is the real number 1. His battle-intense sword and his terrifying aura caused the surrounding cultivators to retreat 3 feet away. 10 billion. It's really 10 billion. Huan Yao's eyes were blank, and his palms were sweating. No matter how strong his mental fortitude was, he had gambled away all his wealth, and he could no longer remain calm. That was a total of 10 places. That goddamn bastard. Huan Yao wished for nothing more than to cut Lin Feng into 1,000 pieces. However, at this moment, a deafening sound suddenly resounded in his ears. In an instant, the hall erupted into an incomparable clamor and excitement. Huan Yao looked at the screen of light, and his body seemed as if it had been struck by lightning, and he was unable to move any longer. The atmosphere in the hall was completely ignited. All the students were in high spirits. They had witnessed a miracle with their own eyes. Lin Feng from the 32nd place had climbed all the way to the top 10. Not only did he reach the top 3, finally, he climbed to the 2nd place. He was second only to the emperor of the training base. Even Xiao Jian, who was known as the genius favored by the gods, had been stepped under his feet. An extremely terrifying newcomer, Lin Feng. At this moment, no matter who it was, they would remember this name deeply, as if it was branded into their minds. He Xiong chuckled. Originally, he felt a little angry and embarrassed that Lin Feng had surpassed him, but now that he thought about it, there was nothing to be ashamed of. Scarlet Leopard's face turned pale, and he secretly rejoiced that he did not cause any trouble. Otherwise, he would have provoked a newcomer who was even more terrifying than Xiao Jian. Then he would really be in trouble. Junior brother is too monstrous, Wang Cheng said after a long while. Powerful, truly powerful, incomparably powerful. Lala could not help but shake his head. Han Tai and Han Xiling looked at each other in dismay, both of them smiling bitterly. Indeed, it was too shocking. You were wrong just now? Fang Ning turned his head to look at Xiao Jian and said with a serious smile, Lin Feng will not become my greatest competitor in the future, but now he has already become my greatest competitor. Xiao Jian's expression turned serious, and he looked at the familiar name on the screen, a little distracted. He was actually surpassed. A draw? Lin Feng stepped out of the door and shook his head with a bitter smile. Who would have thought that the ending would be like this? It was really unexpected. If I had used soul power attack earlier, I would have passed the 8th heaven long ago. Lin Feng thought for a moment, and then felt relieved. Anyway, he could enter the 33rd heaven once a day, so he was not in a hurry. If he learned from his mistakes, he would pass it next time. I didn't expect soul power to have offensive power. Lin Feng still could not believe it. In the past, when he used soul power attack, it would at most make the magical beasts dizzy or create pressure. But could soul power kill magical beasts or humans? It had never happened before. Walking on the Dragon Spine Road this time was indeed rewarding. Lin Feng nodded, even though he did not know what the soul power light spot was. But it was obviously not ordinary. This should be the psychic that Father mentioned. Lin Feng muttered, "Psychic is to use soul power to attack directly. But Father said that soul power attack is a double-edged sword. It can kill enemies, but it can also kill oneself. So, unless necessary, it should not be used frequently. But it should not be a problem in the 33rd heaven." Lin Feng smiled. In the 33rd heaven, it was just a clone body. I wonder what my final ranking is. With a faint murmur, Lin Feng immediately walked towards the light screen stairway. Even though Lin Feng did not surpass Fong Ning in the end, second place was already an extremely shocking ranking. After all, in the training base, there were all elite members of the hunt. There were even many high-level Emperor Wu and middle-level Emperor Wu. For Lin Feng to be able to obtain this ranking, there was no doubt he had sufficient strength. In the Sky Martial Continent, the strong were respected and respected. It was the same in the training base. Lin Feng's current position was like Xiao Jian in the past. He had already established his own reputation. He became famous overnight. Stepping into the virtual world, Lin Feng's expression was calm and natural. But just as he stepped in, all eyes were focused on him. The noise quieted down. Lin Feng was not used to it. Those eyes were filled with admiration and respect. Occasionally, there would be resentment and jealousy. But there was one gaze that was the most intense. Lin Feng looked over. A young man in white was walking toward him. His steps were normal, but each step had a unique feeling. It was as if he was walking in the void. It was quite magical. "Hello, it's the first time we meet. I'm Fong Ning." Fong Ning smiled and extended his right hand. Fong Ning? The Fong Ning who was ranked first on the scoreboard. Lin Feng was stunned. Then he smiled and extended his right hand. "Hello, I'm Lin Feng." When they shook hands, Lin Feng felt a familiar energy wave. Obviously, this Fong Ning in front of him was a heaven spirit master like him. "Me too, Xiao Jian." Smiling, Xiao Jian put his hand on Fong Ning's hand. Fong Ning could not help but smile. Lin Feng also raised his head and looked at Xiao Jian. When he was chatting with the people in the Spear Dojo, the most talked about was not Fong Ning, but Xiao Jian. The main reason was that Fong Ning was too mysterious. Very few people had seen him before, but Xiao Jian was different. In terms of fame, he was obviously much better than Fong Ning. Lin Feng smiled indifferently. At this moment, his strength was recognized. The surrounding students looked at the three people gathered together. The top three of the scoreboard seemed to have formed a small group. It made people envious. What level, what kind of strength, what kind of friends would be made in the Sky Martial Continent? This was a kind of habit. And at this moment, dang, the crisp sound of a bell suddenly rang. The hour of midnight had finally passed. It represented the end of the month. At the same time, the scoreboard for the month had been settled. Third update, looking for recommendations, looking for subscriptions. The recommendation votes are almost 20,000 carat. If you like this work, you are welcome to come to Chidian. Come to vote for me. Your support is my biggest motivation. Chapter 140. 1. Fong Ning 32, 2. Lin Feng 111, 3. Xiao Jian 1-1. On the light screen stairway, the names were shining clearly. After a month of hard work and waiting, finally it was over. At this moment, a man in a luxurious blue robe walked out slowly. He was not burly, but he gave people a feeling of being tall. At first glance, he looked a little thin, but it was as if he had the perfect proportions. It's tempering. Lin Feng's eyes were burning. It was a strange feeling, but it was very real. His appearance was like a ray of sunlight shining onto the earth. At dawn, everything in the surroundings was covered up. In an instant, he became the only focus. Blue Hunter, one of the 3 hunters. Xiao Jian's voice was heard slowly. Lin Feng nodded. Obviously, Xiao Jian was talking to him. He had heard a little about Blue Hunter. In the training base, he was the person with the highest authority. He meant what he said. Second place, I wonder what the reward is. Lin Feng thought to himself. He was looking forward to it. To be honest, when he saw the final ranking, he was shocked. He had expected to be in the top 10, but he did not expect to improve so much. The key is the mutation of my soul power in the Dragon Spine Road. Lin Feng knew very well that it was because of the mutation of his soul power that he could reach the 15th section of the Dragon Spine Road, past the 7th section of the Tristramsa Heaven, and almost past the 8th section. It was like a game of chess. With one move, the whole game would change. But the result was not bad. Blue Hunter's appearance caused a commotion. He was like a high and mighty emperor descending. Facing such a revered existence in the hunt, all the students looked at him with reverence, their eyes shining brightly. Quiet. Blue Hunter stood in front of the light-screened stairway and said calmly. His voice was not loud, but it fell clearly in the ears of every student. The first month of the Einerjar tempering plan was very successful. I'm very satisfied. As he spoke, Blue Hunter glanced at Lin Feng and the other 2. Suddenly, Lin Feng felt everyone's eyes on him. He could not help but smile. Next, receive your reward. Hunting Master Blue raised his hand, and suddenly, a bright, milky, white light flashed. In an instant, Lin Feng's eyes lit up, and every cell in his body seemed to become active, ready to move. The air was filled with waves of fragrance. It was a strange fruit about the size of a bowl. What pure heaven and earth energy! Lin Feng exclaimed softly. Around him, the other students all had the same expression. Fong Ning, Chief Blue Hunter, smiled. All of a sudden, everyone's eyes were focused on him. Even the dumbest person would know that this strange fruit would definitely belong to Fong Ning. The material reward for first place. The fruit of life grows in the depths of the wildlands. It's a top-grade spirit fruit. With a gentle smile, Blue Hunter handed the fruit of life to Fong Ning. With this fruit of life, it's equivalent to having an extra life. This should be the best gift for you who's about to enter the ancient ruins. Fong Ning smiled and nodded. Thank you. Everyone was in an uproar, not only because of the uniqueness of the fruit of life, but also because of Hunting Master Blue's last sentence. You're about to enter the ancient ruins. In other words, Hunting Master Blue believed that Fong Ning had already secured one of the spots in the preliminaries. Dugu Feng's face was slightly pale, and there was a hint of indignation in his eyes. However, he suppressed his anger. One must know that he was the martial artist with the strongest ability in the training base. Fong Ning, he was merely an intermediate Emperor Wu. TSK, the fruit of life. Hunting Master Blue is really generous. Little Sword smiled. Among all the top-grade spirit fruits, the fruit of life is ranked at the top. It's that precious. Lin Feng was slightly surprised. He was not familiar with spirit fruits. Judging from the energy of the fruit alone, it's comparable to the dragon spirit. Little Sword looked at Lin Feng curiously, as if he was surprised that he did not know about this treasure that all martial artists coveted. However, compared to the violent dragon spirit, the energy of the fruit of life is relatively gentle. Even ordinary people can consume it. Oh, Lin Feng nodded in realization. Although he did not know how good the fruit of life was, he had swallowed the dragon spirit before. He almost exploded from eating too much. However, the benefits were also incomparable. It's equivalent to the dragon spirit with gentle energy. TSK. Lin Feng's eyes brightened. Because of the violent dragon spirit, he had narrowly escaped death that day. The fire spirit pills that he had painstakingly stolen were almost all used up. Indeed, any martial artist below the titled martial god level would go crazy for it. Looking around, Lin Feng saw that the other students were all looking at him with envy, almost drooling. Lin Feng smiled. Even he himself was very envious. The greatest use of the fruit of life is healing. Little Sword's eyes flickered. Even if you have 1 foot in the gates of hell, eating the fruit of life can bring you back from the dead. There was once a martial artist whose limbs were cut off by his enemies. His injuries were fatal, and he relied on treasures to hang on to his life. However, after eating the fruit of life, not only did his limbs grow back, his injuries were also healed, and his strength was even greater than before. Little Sword looked at Feng Ning. Just as hunting leader Blue said, the ancient ruins are filled with danger. Having a fruit of life will undoubtedly increase one's life. Lin Feng heard these words, but he could not hear anything else after that. Lin Feng's eyes were filled with shock and horror. Suddenly, it was as if a fire had ignited in his heart. Limbs grow back. Limbs that were cut off can grow back. Lin Feng's body trembled uncontrollably. His breathing was rapid, and his heart seemed to be tightly twisted together. His younger brother's eyes and his father's legs had always been the pain in his heart. He had the Dragon Eye elixir when he lost his sight, but he had never heard of an elixir that could grow back limbs. Is this true? Lin Feng was a little emotional. In an instant, everyone's gazes converged. Although Little Sword was curious, he still nodded. Of course it's true. After confirming it again, Lin Feng could not help but clench his fists, and his eyes shone. Looking at Lin Feng's slightly lost composure, hunting leader Blue did not pay too much attention to it. Instead, he showed a look of admiration. This newcomer that Xiao had brought over had given him too many surprises and stirred him up in the past 12 days. In terms of talent, he was not as good as Little Sword. In fact, there were many warriors who were much better than him. Celestial Spirit Masters might be rare in the Tianwu continent, but here, it was not unusual at all. However, Lin Feng had completely exceeded his expectations. Xiao, hunting leader Blue smiled and shook his head. You're not only mysterious, but the newcomer that you brought over is also mysterious. If that's the case, I'll lend you a hand. I also want to see how much potential this little guy has. Hunting leader Blue smiled indifferently. In an instant, a fiery red light flashed in his hand. He called out Lin Feng. Raising his head and suppressing the excitement in his heart, Lin Feng could not help but sigh. Although he coveted the fruit of life, it did not belong to him. However, this was not important. What was important was the existence of the fruit of life, the existence of this hope. That was enough. Just like the Dragon Eye medicine, perhaps he was powerless at that time. 10 million Tianwu coins seemed like a sky-high price that people could only look up to. But now, Lin Feng smiled and glanced at Huan Yao. The latter immediately sensed it. Thinking of the 11 billion Tianwu coins that he had lost, his face turned pale and powerless. Lin Feng walked forward indifferently. His gaze locked onto the fiery red fruit in hunting leader Blue's hand. He could not help but feel excited. Is this my reward? Lin Feng thought to himself. From afar, he could feel the surging power. It was as if a fire dragon was entrenched on top of a volcano, spewing out endless flames. Others might not be able to feel it, but he could feel it clearly. Is this a first-grade spirit fruit? Lin Feng knew very well that since Feng Ning, who won first place, received a top-grade spirit fruit, he should only receive a first-grade spirit fruit. Otherwise, wouldn't it be unfair? Soon, the answer was revealed. The fire dragon fruit is a top-grade spirit fruit that grows in volcanoes. Blue Hunter's eyes sparkled. No matter if it's a fire spirit master or a warrior, the effect of the fire dragon fruit is the best among the top spirit fruits. For you, the effect of this fire dragon fruit is 10 times better than the life fruit. Lin Feng was stunned. 10 times? Was it that exaggerated? Lin Feng took the fire dragon fruit. In an instant, it was as if a raging flame had ignited in his hand. The burning sensation was like a huge two-winged fire dragon roaring at the sky. The fiery red color enveloped the entire sky. Lin Feng's heart instantly beat wildly. A top-grade spirit fruit. It's a top-grade spirit fruit. Lin Feng's eyes sparkled, and his body trembled slightly. At this moment, the students below were all envious, especially the Fire Spirit Master students. Their pupils were dilated, and they were suffocating. Oh my God! No way. For a Fire Spirit Master, the Fire Dragon fruit was not a top-grade spirit fruit, but immortal fruit. Thank you. Lin Feng slightly bowed. Receiving a gift from others, of course, he had to thank them politely. Then, Lin Feng turned to leave. Suddenly, Hunting Leader Blue's voice came again. Don't rush, there's still this. Lin Feng was stunned. As soon as he turned around, he saw a flash of cold light. In front of him, there seemed to be a sky full of spear shadows. An astonishing aura completely covered him, as if a god had descended. In an instant, Lin Feng's heartbeat quickened. The hair on his back stood up, and the scabbard on his back moved slightly. In front of him, a huge word flashed. Overlord. The huge word, Overlord, had an incomparable domineering aura. It seemed to be formed by countless spears, and also seemed to be formed by extremely strong spear moves. Boundless. At this moment, there was no place for any other existence between heaven and earth. Only spear. First update. I wish everyone a happy Lantern Festival. Today I went to visit relatives, so the update is late. Sorry at_at. There's a second update in the morning. That's all for today, but tomorrow I'll make up for it with a fourth update. Thank you for your continued support, Carrot. If you like this work, you're welcome to Kamachidian. Come to vote. Your support is my biggest motivation. Chapter 141. Swoosh. The light disappeared in an instant. Lin Feng's eyes flashed. It was a black stone that looked inconspicuous. But no one dared to underestimate it, especially since it was taken out by the respected Blue Hunter. Catch! Blue Hunter shook his right hand, and the black stone flew toward Lin Feng. Smack! Lin Feng caught it. It was as heavy as a small mountain. There were countless marks on the stone with different depths. The most eye-catching one was the word Ba. It looked like a soaring dragon and was extremely domineering. Is this what I saw just now? Lin Feng was shocked. It was completely unexpected. The shocking scene just now was still vivid in his mind, but it all originated from an inconspicuous black stone. The spear intent stone is very useful to you now, Blue Hunter said with a smile. In an instant, there was a slight commotion below. Everyone was discussing and looking at Lin Feng with envy and jealousy. At the same time, there was a hint of doubt. The second place received one more reward than the first place. Wasn't that a little? It's not fair. Someone in the crowd muttered softly. The voice was very soft, but everyone heard it clearly, let alone Blue Hunter. If you want to say something, say it out loud like a man. Blue Hunter's expression was calm. He tilted his head slightly, and his gaze shot into the crowd like two sharp arrows. Suddenly, Huan Yao's face turned pale like a mouse that saw a cat. Lin Feng looked over and frowned. Although he didn't care about Huan Yao, he felt as if there was a fly flying past his ear. It was very uncomfortable. Speak. Blue Hunter's eyes turned cold. His voice was like a giant bell that rang in Huan Yao's heart. Thump! Huan Yao's heart pounded. Huan Yao felt his blood rushing to his head. He clenched his teeth and didn't dare to look at Blue Hunter. Instead, he looked at Lin Feng with deep hatred. It's not fair. Why is Lin Feng in second place with more rewards than the first place? Everyone was in an uproar after hearing this. What is fairness? Blue Hunting Master smiled coldly. When people are born, there's always a gap between the rich and the poor. There's always a difference in talent. Things like fairness have never existed. If you can enter the training base, is it fair to the other members of the hunt? Huan Yao's face turned pale as he bit his lips. Do you know why the material reward wasn't announced in advance? Chief Blue Hunter looked around at everyone. The hall was silent. Lin Feng was also slightly curious. Indeed, the rewards for time points had been announced long ago. But the material rewards had always been a mystery. It was only now that the truth was revealed. It varies from person to person. Different martial artists have different requirements for material conditions. Chief Blue Hunter's eyes shone brightly as he said in a clear voice, "There's only one reason why the training base exists and why the martial god tempering plan is being carried out. It's to nurture more titled martial gods." Moreover, Hunting Chief Blue looked coldly at Huan Yao and said disdainfully, "Since when is it your turn to speak here?" His cold words made Huan Yao feel as if he had fallen into an ice cellar. He was filled with regret. Lin Feng smiled. What is fairness? He had been receiving special treatment in the tempering pool since a long time ago. The stronger one's talent would be, and the more one would obtain, the more one would obtain. This was the so-called fairness. After Lin Feng, Little Jian, Dugu Feng, and Tulu Wonder all went forward to receive their rewards. Among them, Little Jian received a Grade 1 Spirit Fruit, while Dugu Feng and Tulu Wonder each received a Grade 2 Spirit Fruit. Spirit Fruits were the most practical at the moment. Just as Chief Blue Hunter said, the fundamental purpose of the martial god tempering plan was to nurture more titled martial gods. The first condition to become a titled martial god was the body had to reach the minimum standard, giving out rewards in public to motivate the students. What a good plan. The competition in February will definitely be more intense. Lin Feng smiled. His eyes were filled with indifference and confidence as he walked into the cultivation room to test his physical fitness. I've already reached the limit of an elementary Emperor Wu. In 3 days, I'll become an intermediate Emperor Wu. Every time he tempered in the tempering pool, his body would improve slightly. Once every 3 days, the speed of improvement would be astonishing. In less than half an hour, Lin Feng came out with a surprised look on his face. Speed, 3,130 meters per second strength, 6269 June, equivalent to 188,066 Gene. Body toughness, 667 titanium. How did my strength increase so quickly? Lin Feng was in disbelief. Logically speaking, the increase in strength and speed should be about the same, close to the standard of an intermediate Emperor Wu. But now, it had completely exceeded the standard of 160,000 Gene. It was very strange. As for the strength of his body, it had already exceeded the standard of an advanced Emperor Wu. In addition, it had increased after the last Dragon Spine Road. The increase in strength was normal. But this strength, Lin Feng shook his head. Just as he took down the Ice Soul Soaring Dragon Spear, his eyes suddenly lit up. He smiled and said, I forgot. Teacher Frost said, the more one comprehends the spear moves, the stronger the technique of exerting force, and the faster one's strength increase. Yesterday, at the 33rd heaven, not only did I completely comprehend the essence of the Eagle Peck style, but I also comprehended more than half of the dive style. I didn't expect that the mutation of my soul power would also increase my comprehension. With a smile, Lin Feng gently stroked the body of the Ice Soul Soaring Dragon Spear, his eyes shining. Since that's the case, I'll strike while the iron is hot. First, I'll completely comprehend the dive style, then the last style, the hunting style. With his mind set, Lin Feng immediately focused his mind and began a practice. The first month of the martial god's tempering ended just like that. This was definitely a month that was still fresh in people's minds. Fang Ning became an emperor, Little Sword became a genius, and Lin Feng rose strongly. Gradually, Lin Feng's reputation even surpassed Xiao Jian's, and he was compared to Fang Ning. In just 12 days, he jumped from the 111th place to the 2nd place. Indeed, this was a miracle. February came. Along with the arrival of February, the exciting month-end qualifier also began. One round every 2 days, starting at noon. The venue, the virtual space. The competition system was elimination. The top 32, with the total points in a month, would participate, and the only two places to enter the ancient ruins would be decided. All the students were smug, especially the 12 high-ranking Emperor Wu. They were even rubbing their fists, and their eyes were red. To a high-level martial emperor, entering the ancient ruins is like a carp leaping over the dragon's gate. Did you see the draw for yesterday's battle? How could I not see it? Fong Ning and Du Gufeng are actually going against each other in the first round. God, first and fourth place on the rankings. There's another exciting battle, Lin Feng against Huan Yao. Heh, enemies are really destined to meet. At this time, the hottest topic in the training base was naturally the draw for the qualifier battle. The conversations between the experts were even more exciting, especially the top three on the rankings, Fong Ning, Lin Feng, and Xiao Jian's strength. Everyone was looking forward to it. After all, apart from Fong Ning, who was an intermediate Emperor Wu, Lin Feng and Xiao Jian were only beginner Emperor Wu. Their bodies were limited, so how much battle strength could they have? No one knew. A chance to avenge my humiliation. Huan Yao's expression was ferocious. Who in the training base hated Lin Feng more than Huan Yao? To be able to meet Lin Feng in the first round was great news for Huan Yao. He wanted to defeat Lin Feng in front of so many people and tell them that. Lin Feng was someone who had lost to Huan Yao. What bullish asterisk T rankings? Bullish asterisk T. Huan Yao thought of the scene that day and wished he could cut Lin Feng into pieces. First, he was scolded by Hunting Leader Blue and swallowed his words. Then, Lin Feng took away the 10 billion Tianwu coins in the illusory sphere without saying anything. That wasn't all. What made him feel the most ashamed was that before Lin Feng left, Lin Feng actually said something in front of the crowd. "You still owe me 1 billion Tianwu coins." Everyone laughed, and Huan Yao wished he could dig a hole and hide in it. "Lin Feng, I'll let you know what the illusion eye is." Huan Yao ground his teeth as a hazy illusion flashed in his eyes. Suddenly, it sounded like thunder and lightning. "When the time comes, I want you to kneel down and beg me. I want you to crawl under my pants and humiliate you in front of everyone. I want you to lose all face. I won't let you go. Never." Huan Yao roared fiercely. Early morning cultivation room. A series of spear shadows flashed as a wild aura filled the entire space. Even the air was filled with a sharp aura. Lin Feng held the ice soul soaring dragon spear in his hand as he shuttled back and forth. Along with his rapid movements, intense sonic booms constantly resounded in the air. It was as if an eagle was flying across the sky, letting out a long cry. Bang! A huge explosion boomed like a thunderclap. Lin Feng let out a long breath and stopped practicing his spear. His expression was one of satisfaction as he stood upright. Dive style completely mastered. Lin Feng smiled and held the ice soul soaring dragon spear, feeling the strength in his arm, and nodded. "It seems like my strength has increased by quite a bit." It was a very fulfilling night. Spear moves were difficult to comprehend, and mastering the essence was also not easy. The increase in comprehension is hard to estimate. Lin Feng's eyes shone. With the difficulty of the dive style, even if I could comprehend it, it would take at least 10 days to half a month to grasp the essence. But now, Lin Feng couldn't help but smile. He had only spent one night. From the looks of it, comprehending the hunting style is just around the corner. Lin Feng smiled confidently. Suddenly, Lin Feng took out the spear intent stone that Hunting Chief Blue had given him. It was ordinary, and there was nothing special about it. Lin Feng gently stroked the crisscrossing marks on the spear intent stone. He could feel the surging spear intent, and there was a faint feeling in his mind. It was as if there were rays of light and spear shadows flashing, but it was sometimes close and sometimes far away. He couldn't touch it, let alone guess it. "It's almost time. Let's go find Teacher Frost. She might know something." Lin Feng smiled and didn't hesitate. After freshening up, Lin Feng headed to the Spear Martial Field. As the Lantern Festival passed, the Spring Festival was officially over. Finally, Xiao Xiao could write her book in peace. Xiao Xiao was finally able to write her book in peace. Once again, tomorrow will be a day of writing. If there are no accidents, the fourth watch will be a small explosion to make up for today's Lantern Festival. If you like this work, you are welcome to come to Chidian. Come to vote for me. Your support is my biggest motivation. You're tuning into the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.